Chapter 26. Outside Konoha village. He, Uchiha is worthy of being a big family in Konoha, it's rich. Black Zetsu rubbed his hands excitedly. Uchiha Obito stood behind Black Zetsu, looking at Zetsu's back with unkindness in his eyes. It was because of Black Zetsu's plan that he was like a fool and was fooled around by Black Zetsu. He believed the fake infinite Tsukuyomi. If young Xiao hadn't reminded him, he would still be confused by Black Zetsu. If he didn't have to work with Black Zetsu, he would have found a way to kill him long ago. Black Zetsu turned around and saw Obito's unfriendly gaze. He said awkwardly, "Don't look at me like that. Although I used you for some purpose, the infinite Tsukuyomi I mentioned before did not lie to you." Black Zetsu believes that if all the people in the ninja world become nutrients for the sacred tree, and he becomes White Zetsu, won't the world be at peace? He feels that his goal is similar to what Madara wants to achieve. So you just tell me whether there is peace or not. That would indeed be peaceful. After all, if everyone died, there would be no war in this world. Obito didn't react when he heard Black Zetsu's words. Now, Obito didn't believe a word Black Zetsu said and just treated it as bullshit. Black Zetsu saw that Obito didn't react, he scratched his head awkwardly, he knew that Obito had come to his senses now and was not so easy to fool. So, Black Zetsu gave up the idea of fooling Obito. He pretended to be innocent and spread his hands. "Oh, if you don't believe it, forget it." Obito looked at Black Zetsu coldly, "We are just partners now. 2 days ago." Obito was very confused after leaving Akatsuki. How could he make so much money without any business acumen? He looked around the ninja world but still couldn't think of a way to make money. Just when he was at a loss, Black Zetsu found him. "Oh my, Obito-kun, are you worried about not making money?" Black Zetsu asked, half of his head poking out of the soil. The first time Obito saw Black Zetsu, the anger in his heart burned like a flame. It was this black thing in front of him that had fooled him for so many years. He angrily attacked Black Zetsu, who quickly retracted his head upon seeing this. Obito found that he had no way to deal with Black Zetsu, so he stopped attacking. He asked coldly, "What do you want from me?" Black Zetsu's head then slowly popped out of the ground. "Obito-kun, don't be so irritable. I came here specifically to work with you." "Cooperation?" Obito asked doubtfully. He didn't understand why Black Zetsu wanted to cooperate with him. After Black Zetsu's plan was exposed, there was no need for them to cooperate anymore. Black Zetsu saw what Obito was thinking and said cheerfully, "Obito-kun, I learned from my boss about other ways to revive my mother. I have given up on Project Tsuki no Mi. Resurrect Mother." Obito then remembered that when Black Zetsu was in the store, he left excitedly after learning that the moon could be destroyed. Obito then realized that the so-called Project Tsuki no Mi was actually intended to revive Black Zetsu's mother on the moon. Therefore, Black Zetsu wanted to use Madara and him to achieve his own goals. After figuring it out, Obito looked at Black Zetsu with gritted teeth. Sure enough, Project Tsuki no Mi was a scam. If that guy Madara knew you were lying to him, he would never let you go. Obito said coldly. "Haha, Madara will never know in this lifetime, because no one will resurrect him." Black Zetsu said with a smile. Obito's mouth twitched, it seemed to be true, everyone knew that Project Tsuki no Mi was fake, who would want to resurrect that guy, Madara should just stay down there obediently. Since Project Tsuki no Mi is fake, what else can we cooperate on? Obito snorted. "Of course, I came to you this time just to make money with you." Black Zetsu said with a smile. "Make money?" Obito's eyes lit up. He was just worrying about how to make money, but he didn't expect Black Zetsu to come to his door. "I know the locations of several vaults in Konoha, and there's so much money that I can't move it all by myself, so I wanted to come to you for cooperation," Black Zetsu explained. Originally, he didn't need to seek cooperation from Obito. Although there was a lot of money in the vault, he could empty it all by himself in one night. However, he only stole the safes of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Dans before being discovered. After learning of this, other families in Konoha strengthened the security of their own vaults, and someone would come in to patrol almost every once in a while. This caused Black Zetsu a lot of headaches, as the major families stepped up their vigilance, causing his efficiency to be greatly reduced, and he didn't gain much in one night. If he wants to make 40 billion, it will probably take him a long time. This reminded him of Obito's Kamui space. If Obito was there, he would definitely be able to empty the vault in a very short time. so, he came to Obito for cooperation. I will be responsible for finding the location of the vault, and you will be responsible for moving it. We will split it 50 to 50 after the task is completed. Black Zetsu said through gritted teeth. After all, you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a lamb. He believes that as long as Obito joins, the speed of making money in the future will definitely be many times faster than now. Hearing the 50 to 50 split, Obito agreed without any hesitation. Thus, the ninja thieves gang was formed. Obito, who had already made up his mind not to wear a mask, put his mask back on. That night, the two sneaked into Konoha village. In the darkness, Black Zetsu whispered, "I'll go check on the Hyuga clan's patrols." With that, Black Zetsu left. It wasn't long before Black Zetsu returned. "I've found out that every 5 minutes the Hyuga clan will leave the vault entrance and patrol other places, but will return after 1 minute." Black Zetsu said. Obito was a little confused. Aren't the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan able to see through things? Why did they have to arrange people to patrol everywhere? However, he did not pay attention to these insignificant details. 1 minute? That's enough. As Obito said this, the only 3 Megatama that was exposed slowly turned into Manjiki, and his body disappeared. Black Zetsu saw Obito disappear and also dived underground. After the Hyuga clan members left, the two men immediately sneaked into the vault. Obito opened his mouth in shock when he saw the whole room filled with banknotes. How much money was that? Obito, hurry up. Seeing Obito in a daze, Black Zetsu said anxiously. Obito then came to his senses and said, "Kamui." All the money in the room was sucked into the Kamui space by Obito. After a few breaths, there was nothing left in the room. Then, the two of them quickly left the Hyuga land. Not long after the two left, the patrolling Hyuga clan returned. They subconsciously rolled their eyes and symbolically looked to see if the money was still in the vault. FK. Several Hyuga people screamed in surprise. How come the vault was empty after they had been away for so long? Chapter 27. The two people who had just left looked back at the Hyuga clan's territory. Who on earth stole my Hyuga clan's money? After hearing the sharp explosion of Hyuga Hayashi, the two turned around and left contentedly. After they succeeded, they did not leave Konoha village immediately, but headed towards the tribal lands of the Inoshika-ch tribes. Obito-kun, now that everyone in Konoha is focusing their attention on the Hyuga clan, let's go and make some money. Black Zetsu said happily. Okay. Obito said, following behind Black Zetsu. The defense of the Inoshika-ch clans is much worse than that of the Hyuga clan. After all, they are just an ordinary ninja family, and the Hyuga clan is one of the strongest families in Konoha village, possessing the powerful bloodline limit of the Byakugan. Therefore, the defense of the Inoshika-ch clans could not compare to it. The two of them easily took away all the money of the 3 tribes. With Obito's Kamui, the efficiency was indeed greatly improved. In just one night, the two of them visited more than half of the families in Konoha. At this time, the sky was turning pale and they found that dawn was approaching, so they left Konoha and planned to go again the next night. After finding the hiding place, Obito took out all the money from Kamui space. When Obito saw so much money, he wanted to keep it all for himself. Although Black Zetsu has special abilities and is difficult to kill, he himself is not very strong and is no match for Obito in terms of strength. Obito could have run away with the money, but he hesitated and didn't do it. Because he still needs Black Zetsu to lead him to find the vault. He can't break up with Zetsu just for such a small profit. He doesn't want to lose the big picture while gaining the small gain. The two men then began to count the harvest, and the count lasted from morning to evening. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that we would earn 3 billion in one night. Black Zetsu said excitedly. Obito opened his mouth in shock when he heard the number. He knew that he had gained a lot that night, but he didn't expect it to be so much. So, he made 1.5 billion in one night. It turned out that his cooperation with Black Zetsu was right. If this situation continues, I believe it won't be long before he can earn enough money to resurrect his teacher. Black Zetsu was also extremely excited. He didn't expect that after Obito joined, he would be able to make money so quickly. You know, before Obito came, he could only earn a few 100 million after working hard all night, and that was when no one disturbed him. Later, the various clans of Konoha strengthened their patrols, and he could only earn a few million a night. He was extremely glad that he had brought Obito into the group. He believed that in a few years they would be able to destroy the moon and resurrect their mother. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu was extremely excited, and her fatigue was suddenly swept away. Obito-kun, let's divide the money and then move on, said Black Zetsu. Okay. Obito said, and sucked his 1.5 billion into the Kamui space. Black Zetsu looked at Obito enviously. Sometimes space is just good, you can just put all the money in it. Unlike him, who worries all day about his hidden money being discovered. A group of white Zetsus suddenly emerged from the ground, and one of them suddenly asked, Master Ju, do you know what it feels like to have a bowel movement? Black Zetsu's forehead was bulging with veins. I don't know, you guys better move the money to the base. Oh my, I just want to know what defecation is. Ah Fei said sadly. Hurry up. Black Zetsu roared. Seeing that the Black Zetsu was angry, Ah Fei quickly told the remaining white Zetsu to move the money away. After all of Black Zetsu's money was moved away, he turned to Obito and said with a smile, Obito-kun, let's start tonight's operation. Obito nodded and put on the yellow Uzumaki mask again. So the two of them sneaked back to Konoha. Their target tonight is the Uchiha clan, a powerful clan in Konoha. I didn't expect that the Uchiha have been pushed to the edge of the village now. Obito murmured. The reason I didn't go to Uchiha last night was that Uchiha was too far from the center of the village, so I didn't have time to go there. But tonight is different, they are here for Uchiha. Land of the Uchiha tribe. Uchiha Fugaku felt uneasy when he learned that the property of Konoha's major families had been stolen last night. He hurried to the clan's treasury and nervously opened the door. When he saw that the property in the treasury was intact, his tense nerves finally relaxed. However, he did not take it lightly and decided to take more cautious measures. Since last night, he had moved directly into the vault, determined not to give any potential thieves any chance. Meanwhile, Obito and Zetsu hid in the shadows, keeping a close eye on Uchiha Fugaku's every move. They originally planned to steal the wealth of the Uchiha family, but faced with the strict defense of Uchiha Fugaku, they felt very troubled. Obito-kun, what should we do now? Black Zetsu couldn't help but ask Obito, and even had the idea of giving up this family. Obito was silent for a moment. Wait a minute. Just then, he noticed a woman appearing in the distance, holding a lunchbox in her hand. Obito immediately recognized it as Uchiha Fugaku's wife, Uchiha Mikoto. Apparently, she came to deliver food to Uchiha Fugaku. Obito's heart moved, thinking that this might be a rare opportunity. He decided to wait until Uchiha Fugaku was eating before taking action. Not long after, Uchiha Mikoto arrived at the vault door. She knocked gently and called softly, Fugaku-kun, come out for dinner. Hearing this, Uchiha Fugaku came out and closed the door of the vault. He smiled and asked, what delicious food did you bring me tonight? They are all your favorites. Uchiha Mikoto said with a smile. Mikoto, you are so nice to me. No way. Watching the two flirting, Obito and Zetsu glanced at each other, then quietly sneaked into the vault. When they entered the vault, both of them widened their eyes in shock. The sight before them was unbelievable. The scale of this vault far exceeded that of the Hyuga clan, and the money inside was piled up like a mountain, almost filling the entire space. No wonder Uchiha Fugaku had to go in and guard it personally. It turns out there is such a huge wealth hidden in here. Obito whispered. As he said this, he began to put large amounts of money into his Kamui space without hesitation. However, there was so much money in the vault that even if Obito had the Kamui space, it would take a lot of time to put all the money in. After a period of hard work, Obito finally put all the money into the Kamui space. He and Judo looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. Then, they left Konoha village without hesitation and disappeared into the darkness with the huge wealth. After dinner, Uchiha Fugaku opened the door of the safe. When he saw the scene inside, he was stunned. He lost all that money in just the time it took to eat. Chapter 28. Obito-kun, please take out the money and count how much there is. Black Zetsu rubbed his hands excitedly. Obito's thoughts were pulled back by Black Zetsu. He opened Manjiki and took out all the money he had received from Uchiha. The two men looked at the mountain of money with their eyes shining, and quickly began to count their gains in Uchiha. After a long moment, Black Zetsu exclaimed, a total of 1.8 billion ryo. As expected of a family that has been passed down from the Sengoku period, the heritage is truly amazing. Obito was also shocked by Uchiha's strength. But his face immediately turned gloomy. because he recalled the days when he was young and depended on his grandmother for everything. Although the clan provided subsidies, it was only enough to barely make ends meet. The family's financial situation was not very good until he became a ninja and was able to take on missions, and then the family's conditions improved. Obito didn't expect that the tribe had so much money but didn't use it to help the tribe members in need. Since you don't want to spend the money, I'll spend it for you. Obito murmured. After the two of them divided the spoils, Black Zetsu said, Obito-kun, there's nothing left in Konoha village. We have to move to another village. Obito nodded when he heard this. All the major families had been visited by them, and there was nothing valuable left. It can even be said that the combined assets of the big clans in Konoha are not as much as the assets of a small clan. It was indeed time to move their position, so the two packed up their things and prepared to flee overnight. As the two of them set off, Obito suddenly stopped and looked back in the direction of Konoha village. Black Zetsu saw Obito stop and asked confusedly, "What's wrong, Obito-kun?" "You wait here, I'll be back soon." With that, Obito headed towards Konoha village. Inside Konoha village. Boom boom boom, I'm coming. A little yellow-haired boy in the house heard the knock on the door and hurried to the door and opened it. "Grandpa Hokage," the little yellow-haired boy shouted happily. "Little Naruto, Grandpa is here to give you living expenses," Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he took out an envelope and handed it to the smiling Naruto. "Thank you, Grandpa Hokage," little Naruto said gratefully. When he took the envelope, he suddenly found that this time the envelope was thinner than before. Little Naruto looked at the envelope in his hand, then looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen who had a kind face. He asked in confusion, "Grandpa Hokage, why is my pocket money so little this month? Did I do something wrong?" As he said this, he looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with an aggrieved look on his face. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little embarrassed when he saw little Naruto looking aggrieved. He rubbed Xiao Ming's head and said, "That's not the case. There have been thieves in the village recently. All the money in the village was stolen, so the living expenses given to you this time are less than usual. So that's how it is." Little Naruto clenched his fists and said angrily, "This thief is so despicable." This made little Naruto very angry. It was all because of this damn thief. His living expenses were not much to begin with, and now they were even less. "You should save your money. Grandpa, I have something to do, so I will leave now. I will come to see you another day," Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. "Got it, goodbye Grandpa Hokage," said little Naruto. After Sarutobi Hiruzen left, little Naruto closed the door and muttered, "This month's living expenses are not enough. It seems that I will have to go hungry." He has gone hungry many times over the years because of lack of money. Sometimes, even if he has money, some shop owners are unwilling to sell things to him when they see it is him. Thinking of this, little Naruto's tears flowed down, and he sobbed, "Dad, Mom, where are you?" Boom boom boom. Just then, there was another knock on the door. Little Naruto quickly wiped away his tears and shouted, "Grandpa Hokage, I'll be right there." He thought it was Sarutobi Hiruzen who had returned. After all, no one except the Hokage had come to his house in all these years. Little Naruto opened the door and found that the person who came was not Sarutobi Hiruzen, but an unknown man who was carrying a lot of things in his hands. The person was Uchiha Obito. "Who are you?" little Naruto asked curiously. "Hello, Naruto. I'm your father's student," Obito said with a smile. When little Naruto heard Obito's introduction, his eyes widened. He asked in surprise, "Uncle, you know my father?" Obito walked into the house and frowned when he saw Naruto's living environment. He didn't expect Naruto's living environment to be so poor. There was even expired milk on the table. "Uncle, do you really know who my father is?" little Naruto asked expectantly. Obito looked at Naruto expectantly, feeling guilty. After all, Naruto's tragic fate was all caused by him. If there was no Nine Tails rebellion, Naruto would be a shadow like Asuma. "Uncle, uncle!" little Naruto shouted. Hearing the sound, Obito came back to his senses and put the things in his hand on the table. He rubbed little Naruto's head. "Of course, your parents are out on a mission and will be back in a few years." Little Naruto was so excited when he heard this. "Uncle, is everything you said true?" "It's true, but you can't tell anyone about this, otherwise your parents won't come back," Obito said seriously. Little Naruto nodded. "Don't worry, uncle, I won't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone else that I'm here today." Little Naruto nodded quickly. He was so excited. It turned out that he had parents, but they were just out on a mission. He is not at all what they call a child without parents. Obito suddenly discovered that Nine Tails chakra was actually affecting Naruto. Although Naruto has not started training yet, his training in the future will definitely be disturbed by Nine Tails. He then activated the Sharingan and looked at Naruto, who then went into a daze. In the sealed space. You damn Uchiha! I'm going to kill you! Nine Tails roared. It recognized the Obito in front of it as the same Uchiha that had controlled him years ago. Little Naruto found himself in a mysterious space. He looked at Nine Tails with fear, and then quietly hid behind Obito. Nine Tails, be quiet! Obito glared at Nine Tails. Nine Tails was instantly caught in an illusion. Outside world. Little Naruto came back to his senses and asked Obito curiously, Uncle, what is that big fox? Just a pet. Obito took out a thick envelope from his arms and handed it to Naruto. This is the pocket money your uncle gave you. I have something to do, so I will leave first. I will come back to see you when I have time. Little Naruto took the money and said with a smile, Got it, uncle. Remember, don't tell anyone about what happened between me and your parents. Obito said. Got it, uncle. Before Obito left, he suddenly asked, Naruto, do you know a man named Kakashi? Little Naruto looked confused. Uncle, I don't know him. Hearing this, Obito's face darkened. I know, Naruto. My name is Obito. In the eyes of little Naruto, the uncle in front of him was talking and suddenly disappeared out of thin air. He rubbed his eyes subconsciously, thinking he was dreaming. But looking at the thick envelope in his hand and the things in the house, he knew he was not dreaming. Chapter 29. Warm reminder, the last few chapters are a bit disgusting, don't read while eating, outside Konoha village. Not long after, Obito came back. Black Zetsu, let's go. Obito said. Okay. Black Zetsu said, looking at White Zetsu behind him, we are leaving the fire country first. You must take good care of the money in the base. This money is very important. We will go to the store at the border to exchange it for weapons. I understand, Lord Black Zetsu, said Fei. Black Zetsu nodded, and left with Obito. Fei watched the two people leave and fell into deep thought. I wonder if that boss can tell me what it feels like to have a bowel movement. Most people are full of praise for that boss. I believe he will tell me what the meaning of defecation is. As he spoke, Fei excitedly began to look for Yung Xiao's shop around the Fire Country. The Fire Nation border. Yung Xiao lay in the chair bored. Strangely enough, no one had come to his shop since Nagato and others left 2 days ago. He yawned. With this amount of customer traffic, how long will it take me to make a lot of money? The things in the store were ridiculously expensive and he couldn't afford them at all. Without money, he could not buy goods to improve his strength, but he dared not leave the store if he could not improve his strength. After all, the ninja world was too dangerous for him who was powerless. He could only stay in the shop in a daze. I don't know where the plot is going. Yung Xiao murmured. Outside the door. Fei looked at the store in front of him with a curious look on his face. Is this the store Master Ju was talking about? He searched for a whole night at the border of the Fire Nation and finally found it. I don't know, can this boss tell me what the meaning of defecation is? Fei said as he walked into the store. Boss! Fei shouted. The sudden sound startled Yung Xiao. He quickly stood up and looked outside the door, only to see a White Zetsu jumping in. When Yung Xiao saw White Zetsu's funny personality, he knew that this White Zetsu was a gangster. Among the thousands of White Zetsu created by Uchiha Madara, Afei is a special one. He is a senior expert in human feces research, a wholesaler of artificial limbs, a possessed demon. He smiled and said, Excuse me, is there anything you need? Boss, do you know what it feels like to have a bowel movement? Fei quickly ran to Yung Xiao and asked expectantly. Yung Xiao was stunned. He didn't expect Fei to ask him this question. He opened his mouth again and again, and for a moment he didn't know how to describe it. Fei saw Yung Xiao's expression and looked disappointed. Is that so, boss, you don't know either? As he said that, Fei walked towards the door in a daze. Yung Xiao saw Fei leaving and suddenly said, It's hard for me to describe this to you, but I can make you poop yourself. Boss, are you telling the truth? Hearing Yung Xiao's words, Fei was so excited that he grabbed Yung Xiao's shoulders. very excited. Xiao smiled and nodded, I can install the corresponding internal organs in your body, so that you can defecate like a normal person. After hearing Xiao's explanation, Fei jumped up and down happily, ha ha ha, I can poop too. Boss, please help me install it quickly, I need to take a shit. Fei said expectantly. As a white zetsu, his dream was to be able to poop, but he never expected that his dream would come true. Because your body is special, we need to cultivate internal organs suitable for you. It will cost a total of 50 million taels. Do you have the money? Xiao asked with a smile. Fei was stunned when he heard the price. If he had no money, would he not be able to experience the feeling of defecation? He was a little disappointed, but then he remembered that Lord Zhu had put a lot of money in the base. He could use the money to transform his body so that he would be able to poop. Thinking of this, Fei said excitedly, Boss, I have money, I'll go get it now. Having said that, Fei quickly ran out of the store. Ah ha ha ha, I'll soon know what the urge to defecate is. Fei shouted excitedly. Hearing Fei's voice gradually fade away, Xiao became curious, does White Zetsu also have the habit of making money? He really couldn't understand where Fei's money came from. Black Zetsu's secret base. Fei, what are you going to do with the money? Asked a White Zetsu. Hearing the voice, the other White Zetsu also looked at Fei curiously. Use the money to transform your body so that you can poop. Fei said excitedly. Hearing this, the other White Zetsu came over curiously and asked in disbelief, is this true? Of course it's real. And it only costs 50 million. Fei said sincerely, do you want to transform yourself too? Then we can happily poop together. Hearing Fei's words, the White Zetsu were obviously moved. They looked at each other, with a hint of hesitation and desire in their eyes, and then they looked at Fei again. This is not good. All this money belongs to Lord Black Zetsu. One of the White Zetsu said cautiously, seeming to have some concerns. What are you afraid of? When the time comes, we will just say that the money suddenly disappeared. Anyway, Lord Black Zetsu won't find out, he's so busy. Fei raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a sly smile. The other White Zetsu's eyes lit up, what a great idea. So, the White Zetsu didn't hesitate anymore, picked up the money on the ground, and followed Fei happily. The banknotes that originally filled half of the base shrank by 1/3 in an instant. The Fire Nation border. Boss, I'm here. Fei shouted at the door. So fast. Xiao heard the voice and walked to the door curiously. When he saw the scene outside, his jaw almost dropped. I saw dozens of White Zetsu standing at the door, with a lot of money wrapped around their bodies. Holy shit, are these White Zetsu going to rob a bank? Boss, we all need to poop. Fei shouted. After Xiao realized what was happening, he immediately smiled and quickly made way for him, saying in a flattering manner, come in, come in. A dozen White Zetsu swarmed into the store. Boss, let's start quickly. I'm getting impatient waiting. Fei urged anxiously. Xiao nodded repeatedly. There were a total of 12 White Zetsu. He didn't expect that he could make 600 million from this business. After the White Zetsu paid the money, Xiao immediately raised 12 transformation instruments and asked them to lie down inside. Not long after, the transformation was completed. They looked at their bodies curiously and felt that nothing seemed to have changed. Boss, why don't I feel the urge to defecate? Fei asked in confusion. That's because you haven't eaten yet. As long as you eat, the food will enter your stomach and turn into feces, and then you can defecate. Xiao explained patiently. Oh, so that's how it is, I understand. After saying that, Fei rushed out impatiently. Seeing this, the other White Zetsu also ran out excitedly. Watching them leave, Xiao suddenly remembered something and hurried to the door, shouting, don't urinate or defecate anywhere. Xiao didn't know whether they heard what he said. Chapter 30. In the woods. A dozen white humanoid creatures were running wildly and they came to a huge fruit tree. They looked up at the red fruits on the tree and swallowed. Hey, hey, we can eat now. Fei exclaimed. As White Zetsu, they have a special physique and do not need to eat, nor can they fast. But thanks to Xiao's transformation, they can now not only enjoy delicious food, but also convert food into feces and excrete it. Fei couldn't wait to jump onto the tree and picked a few fruits. Click, he took a bite of the fruit and his eyes suddenly lit up. Wow, it's so delicious. Before, it learned to eat from humans, but found that the food had no taste. In fact, it was because white zetsu had no sense of taste. Yung Xiao's transformation makes them infinitely close to humans. Hearing Ah Fei's words, the other white zetsu jumped onto the tree, picked the fruits and stuffed them into their mouths. Ah, it's so delicious, the white zetsu shouted. So this is the real taste of food, it's really wonderful. After finishing the fruits in their hands, they couldn't wait to pick a few more fruits. Soon, they had eaten all the fruits on the tree. A group of white zetsu collapsed on the ground, holding their swollen bellies and burping. This feeling is so great, exclaimed a white zetsu. Yeah, it's all thanks to A Fei, another white zetsu echoed. Ah Fei ignored their words and stared at his stomach. Why did he not feel the urge to defecate after eating so many fruits? It looked at the other white zetsu and asked curiously, do you feel the urge to defecate? Hearing this, the other white zetsu closed their eyes and felt it carefully. Apart from feeling a little bloated in their stomachs, they didn't feel anything else. It took them a while to open their eyes. No, we can't be fooled by that boss, right? Probably not. After all, we can all eat now. That's true. Ah Fei was a little confused, then why don't we feel the urge to defecate? As he said that, he took out a fruit and stuffed it into his mouth. Delicious. Ah Fei said excitedly. A white zetsu had an idea, could it be because it takes time for food to turn into feces? Its words drew agreement from the other white zetsu. Yes. It's possible. You're so smart. Upon hearing this, Ah Fei nodded in agreement. He felt that the other party was right. It definitely takes some time for food to be converted into feces. It's impossible that it eats it with its front paws and poops it out with its back paws, right? If this is true, Ah Fei has already imagined it squatting on the ground, eating and defecating at the same time. Thinking of this, it quickly shook its head to get rid of the idea from its mind. It was really disgusting. Let's go back and tell the other brothers about this, said a white zetsu. Ah Fei's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, yeah, I think they will like to poop too. Hearing Ah Fei's words, the white zetsu's mouths twitched, thinking that Ah Fei really has a special liking for feces. They just want their other brothers to be able to eat like them. Immediately, a dozen white zetsu quickly rushed towards Black Zetsu's secret base. Black Zetsu's secret base? Ah! Why is there so much less money? A white zetsu screamed, holding his head. Upon hearing this, white zetsu emerged from all directions. When they saw that half of the money in the base was missing, they were scared and ran around. It's over, what if Lord Black Zetsu finds out? Just when they were in a panic, Ah Fei and his friends walked into the base. When the white zetsu saw Ah Fei coming, they felt as if they had found their backbone and quickly ran to Ah Fei. Ah Fei, a lot of the money left by the Black Zetsu is missing. Don't panic, I took this money. Ah Fei said. Hey! The white zetsu were all confused. They didn't know what Ah Fei was going to do with these. I know a store owner who can transform our bodies into the same as humans, so that we can eat and defecate. Ah Fei explained. The white zetsu were all excited when they heard this. Ah Fei, is this true? They looked at Ah Fei excitedly, breathing heavily. As white zetsu, their dream is to be able to eat like humans. They never thought that this wish can actually come true. Ah Fei, take me there. Me too, I want to go too. Ah Fei, please take me with you. I have never begged anyone in my life. Don't worry, I will take you there. Ah Fei patted his chest and promised. Great. As long as the transformation is successful, I am willing to be your little brother. Me too. Ah Fei, you are my big brother. Hearing the compliments from his colleagues, Ah Fei's mouth curled up in pride. But the transformation requires a lot of money, said Ah Fei. Hearing this, the other white zetsu looked at each other in bewilderment. They were just white zetsu, where did the money come from? They could only look at Ah Fei for help. Seeing the gazes of many white zetsu, Ah Fei felt like he was the savior. It pointed at the money in the base and said with a smile, isn't there money there? The white zetsu looked back at the mountain of banknotes with excited eyes. But then they quickly calmed down and said hesitantly, Ah Fei, this is Lord Black Zetsu's money. What if he blames us? Ah Fei gritted his teeth and said, this is all for everyone to poop. If Lord Black Zetsu gives us trouble, we will just quit. Hearing Fei's words, the White Zetsu's emotions were stirred up. That's right, even Lord Black Zetsu can't stop us from pursuing our dreams. Fei shouted, for the dream! For the dream! For the dream! The shouts of the White Zetsu resounded throughout the base. Black Zetsu, who was out making money, would never have thought that his subordinate White Zetsu would betray him not long after he left. Take the money! Fei raised his arms and shouted. Roger that, the White Zetsu shouted. Then, they ran to the pile of money and put all the banknotes into their arms. Soon, each White Zetsu was holding a large bundle of banknotes, and the original mountain of banknotes was now empty. The White Zetsu shouted in unison, we are willing to follow Master Afei until death. Fei nodded with satisfaction, pointed in a direction and shouted, let's go. Just then, its stomach suddenly made a rumbling sound, and an unprecedented feeling suddenly swept through its body. Oh, that's the feeling. Fei subconsciously covered his stomach and his butt kept twisting. So this is what it means to have a bowel movement. Fei quickly ran to the side and squatted on the ground. Puff, puff. Chapter 31. After seeing Fei's appearance, the modified White Zetsu also felt strange in their stomachs. Wow, is this what Lord Fei meant by defecation? They all found a corner and started to defecate. Maybe it's because they ate too much fruit before, and now they are all spraying out, just like a water gun. The remaining White Zetsu looked at the Fei's squatting on the ground and spraying with shock. Crackling Fei held his stomach in pain, veins popping out on his forehead. Obviously, the diarrhea was caused by eating too much fruit. Hey, so comfortable. After a while, Fei let out a sigh of relief and stood up from the ground. It couldn't wait to see its masterpiece. It stinks. Fei subconsciously covered his nose, lay on the ground and began to carefully look at the feces he had just excreted. It even poked it with its hands out of curiosity. Hey! When the White Zetsu saw this scene, they subconsciously took a few steps back, wanting to stay away from Fei. They began to doubt whether their decision to betray Black Zetsu and follow Fei was right. I feel like Fei isn't very reliable. But when they think about it, all this is for the sake of their dream, so it is worth betraying Lord Black Zetsu. Fei originally wanted to put his finger in his mouth to feel what his own feces tasted like. But after hearing the boos from other White Zetsu, it finally gave up the idea and decided to try again somewhere where there was no one. Fei wiped his shit-stained fingers on the ground, then stood up and looked at the White Zetsu and shouted, we were delayed just now. Let's go now. Got it. The White Zetsu couldn't wait to experience the feeling of eating and pooping. They just saw the satisfied expression on Fei's face after he finished defecating. This makes them feel very curious, maybe it really feels good to poop. Thinking of this, they hurriedly followed Fei and headed towards Yung Xiao's shop. The Fire Nation border. Boss, we are here again. Fei shouted loudly. Yung Xiao, who was inside the house, heard the sound and walked to the door curiously. He muttered, didn't Fei and the others just leave not long ago? Why are they back again? When he walked to the door and saw the scene outside, he was so excited that he was speechless. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and after making sure that he was not mistaken, he suddenly exclaimed, FK. I saw that there were more White Zetsu gathered at the door this time than last time, and each White Zetsu was holding a lot of money in his hands. Boss, I brought them to your place for transformation. Fei shouted. Hearing this, Yun Xiao finally reacted. He quickly held Fei's hand and said excitedly, Fei, you are really my god of wealth. He really didn't expect that Fei would come back and bring him so many customers. He, this is all because of your good skills, boss. After the brothers found out, they asked me to bring them here. Fei said with a smile. Those White Zetsu looked at Yung Xiao curiously. Is this the boss who can help them transform their bodies? Boss, please help us transform our bodies quickly. That's right, boss. We can't wait. Hearing the cries of his brothers, Fei said, Boss, please help them transform their bodies. Okay. Okay. Yung Xiao said excitedly. He loosened his grip on White Zetsu's hand and quickly called White Zetsu outside in. After all the White Zetsu came in, Yung Xiao's shop actually seemed a bit crowded. Yung Xiao rubbed his hands excitedly. He was really going to make a fortune today. There are about 40 White Zetsu in the store. It costs 50 million to modify one, so 40 of them would be 2 billion taels. Adding the 600 million taels that Afei had contributed previously, the total is 2.6 billion. Thinking of this, Yun Xiao's breathing became a little rapid. Afei, where have you made your fortune recently? He was very curious. Where did Afei get so much money? A full 2.6 billion. Even if Afei robbed a bank, he probably wouldn't be able to do it that fast, right? Hehe, as for this question, I won't tell you. Afei answered proudly. In fact, Afei knew very well that Yun Xiao and Black Zetsu knew each other. If he revealed to Yung Xiao that he had stolen Black Zetsu's money, and Yung Xiao told Black Zetsu about it, it would be terrible. Therefore, no matter what, he would never reveal the truth about this matter to Yung Xiao. Hearing what Afei said, Yun Xiao couldn't help but twitch his lips slightly. He never expected that Afei would give such a response. He smiled helplessly, and then continued, well, since you don't want to tell me, let them hand over the money first, and I will start arranging the renovation immediately. Not long after, many white Zetsu handed over their money to Yung Xiao. Yung Xiao happily put the money into the system space, and then raised 20 transformation instruments. Since there are too many white Zetsu, the transformation task cannot be completed all at once and can only be carried out in 2 batches. Soon, all white Zetsu were transformed. Yung Xiao really didn't expect that Afei would spend 2.6 billion here today. Today, his commission alone is 260 million. He is considered a rich man now, and it's all thanks to Afei. At this moment, his eyes were full of flattery and fawning when he looked at Afei, as if Afei was his god of wealth. The amount of money Afei spent this time directly broke the highest record since Yung Xiao opened. Afei looked at all the white Zetsu that had been successfully transformed, a satisfied smile appeared on his face, and then he turned to Yun Xiao and said, "Boss, then we'll take our leave first." When Yung Xiao heard this, he excitedly grabbed Afei's hand and said with a big smile on his face, "Boss Afei, you must come to take care of our business more often." "I will come again when I have money." Afei replied with a smile. Hearing this, Yung Xiao's mouth almost stretched to his ears. He was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. He sent Afei and the others all the way to the store door. "Welcome back next time!" Yung Xiao shouted enthusiastically. After the gangsters left, Yun Xiao said with emotion, "I didn't expect that even gangsters can make money so quickly. Doesn't that mean that Black Zetsu makes money even faster? After all, Black Zetsu is much more powerful than ordinary white Zetsu." Thinking of this, Yun Xiao was so excited that he began to imagine the scene where Black Zetsu came to him with 40 billion in cash. However, what Yung Xiao didn't know was that the money Afei spent was all from Black Zetsu. I wonder what Black Zetsu's expression would be if he came back and saw that all his money was gone? Chapter 32. The Fire Nation. A short Mediterranean man wearing a black suit and sunglasses cursed, "Damn it! Laozi came all the way to seek cooperation with Konoha village, but the third Hokage said that his Konoha village has no money. The Land of Fire can be said to be the richest country in the ninja world, and Konoha, as a ninja village, has a very developed economy." He saw the business opportunity and traveled all the way to Konoha village to seek cooperation. He originally thought that this cooperation was a done deal, but he didn't expect that the Hokage of Konoha would tell him that Konoha village was currently short of funds and the two parties could not reach a cooperation. This made him very angry, and he felt that Konoha village looked down on him. "I am so angry. I am one of the richest businessmen in the ninja world. How dare Konoha village look down on me?" He has decided that he will never do business with Konoha village again. "Boss, please calm down." A man holding a knife next to him said flatteringly. He is one of the bodyguards hired by Kaido, a wandering warrior who is responsible for protecting his safety. "I won't come here again. Let's go back." Kaido snorted coldly. The bodyguards behind him nodded quickly after hearing this. Then, they started heading towards the Land of Waves, and at that moment, a sound was heard from the woods. Several bodyguards heard the noise and looked around vigilantly. "Who is it?" As they spoke, several of them drew their samurai swords. Suddenly, a dozen strong men with swords in their hands rushed out from the woods. The scarred man in the lead shouted, "I built this road, I planted this tree, if you want to pass through here, you have to leave money for passage. I didn't expect that there would be bandits on the border of the Land of Fire. I also wonder what the ninjas in Konoha village are doing." Looking at so many bandits in front of him, Kaido couldn't help feeling a little panic. However, when he glanced at the bodyguards beside him, he quickly regained his composure. After all, these warriors were carefully selected by him, and their strength was comparable to that of Chunin, so it would be easy for them to deal with these bandits. Deal with them all, Cardo said in a cold tone. The bandits couldn't help but get nervous when they heard Cardo's calm words. Are these warriors martial artists who are pretending to be pigs and trying to eat the tiger? The scarred man in the lead subconsciously looked at the warriors, only to find that their hands holding the swords were shaking slightly. He couldn't help but wonder, he doesn't look like a powerful character. However, he did not let down his guard. After all, anyone who dared to look down on them was either extremely stupid or had absolute confidence and strength to deal with them. The bandits unconsciously took a step back and secretly decided to run away immediately if the situation became unfavorable. Cardo looked at the bodyguards standing there motionless, and anger surged in his heart. He widened his eyes and shouted angrily, "What are you guys still standing there for? Why don't you do it now? Do you want these bandits to escape? Kill them all immediately." After hearing Cardo's order, the bodyguards looked at each other, trembling, but did not dare to act rashly. Finally, they mustered up their courage, raised their knives tremblingly, and slowly walked towards the bandit leader. The scarred man felt nervous when he saw the bodyguards' actions. He held the knife tightly in his hand, ready to fight the enemy to the death. The bandits behind him also raised their vigilance and waited for the opportunity. However, just as the two sides were on the verge of a fight, something unexpected happened. The bodyguards suddenly stopped, threw the knives in their hands to the ground, then knelt down and kowtowed for mercy. "Brother, please let us go. We don't want to die. Yes, we are all forced into this situation. Please show some mercy and spare our lives." Cardo widened his eyes, looking at the scene in disbelief. He could never have imagined that the bodyguard he hired would be such a person. He was so scared that he knelt down and begged for mercy. "You trash! I paid you to protect me, but you are so useless." Cardo cursed. Only then did Cardo realize that the so-called bodyguards around him were actually a bunch of fakes and were not as powerful as they boasted. They are not even as good as ordinary ninjas, let alone the strength of Chunin. He never expected that he would be deceived so thoroughly, not only losing a large amount of money, but also possibly losing his life. Thinking of this, his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. If he hadn't just peed once, he would probably have peed again out of fear. The leading bandit reacted when he saw the bodyguards kneeling in front of him. He roared, "Damn it, how dare you play tricks on me!" As he said that, he took out a knife and slashed at a bodyguard in front of him. Ah! With a scream, the bodyguard was killed. Blood splattered on the face of the leading bandit, making him look particularly hideous and terrifying. Murder! Seeing this, the other bodyguards got up from the ground and ran away. "Chase them!" The group of bandits quickly chased after them. When Cardo saw that their attention was not on him, he ran away. After the bandits hacked the bodyguard to death, they saw Cardo running away. "Damn it, don't let him get away!" As they said that, the group of bandits chased in the direction Cardo left. When Cardo heard the sound, his feet almost ran out of shadows. Although Cardo is short in stature, his leg muscles are well developed. His strides are small but his frequency is extremely fast. He runs like a nimble rabbit and is not slow. In the blink of an eye, he has put some distance between himself and the bandits behind him. The bandits behind him were also secretly amazed at Cardo's running speed. To be honest, Cardo was the fastest runner among all the people they had chased over the years. But they did not give up, but followed Cardo closely. Cardo kept running forward, while always paying attention to the situation behind him to avoid being caught up by the bandits. As time went by, the distance between the two sides began to narrow slowly. Although Cardo had tried his best, due to the long period of running and the influence of tension, his physical strength gradually declined and his speed gradually slowed down. The bandits behind him, due to regular exercise and better endurance, gradually closed the distance with Cardo. Cardo looked back and found that the distance between the two sides was only 300 or 400 meters, and he was very panicked. He knew very well that if he was caught by these bandits, not only would his money be stolen, but he might even lose his life. What should I do? What should I do? Cardo was extremely anxious. At this moment, he suddenly saw a house not far ahead. Chapter 33. Indoor. Xiao was lying on a chair reading a comic book, which they had bought from the system at a high price. "Help! Help!" Just then, Xiao suddenly heard a cry for help outside the house. He closed the comic book and asked curiously, what happened? He wanted to go to the door to see what was going on, but he had only taken 2 steps when he saw a short man running in quickly. Xiao looked at the person curiously and found that he was a Mediterranean man wearing sunglasses. He felt that the person looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere, but Xiao couldn't remember where. The man who rushed in was none other than Cardo. He happened to discover Xiao's shop while being chased by bandits. He felt that anyone who dared to open a store in such a place was definitely not a simple person. So Cardo ran in and wanted to seek help from the people in the house. When Cardo saw Xiao, he said anxiously, "Please, save me. I am willing to give you all my money." Xiao's eyes lit up when he heard what Cardo said, and he asked tentatively, "How much money do you have?" After seeing Xiao's reaction, Cardo knew that the matter was settled. Sure enough, anyone who opens a store in a place like this must be very powerful. Cardo said quickly, "All my property is worth 1 billion. As long as you save me, all this money will be yours." Xiao smiled immediately after hearing this number. Since Cardo was short, Xiao bent over and smiled, "Excuse me, what do you need?" Kaido was stunned. He thought Xiao was asking him how to deal with the bandits, so he said, "Just kill them all." After hearing what Cardo said, Xiao explained, "It's like this, I have everything in my store, you can definitely buy goods to increase your financial strength." Hearing this, Cardo asked expectantly, "Boss, are you telling the truth?" "Of course. Tell me what you need. As long as the money is in place, I can satisfy you," Xiao assured. Cardo was immediately excited, "Boss, I want to make my physique very strong so that I can easily get rid of those bandits." Xiao then realized that he was being chased by bandits. Xiao nodded. He thought that since the other party had 1 billion in deposits, he must recommend the most expensive one to him. "Yes, is it something that can directly enhance physical fitness after use?" Xiao asked. "Yes, that's it." Cardo's voice trembled with excitement. Xiao nodded slightly. He already knew what to sell to Cardo. Then he turned around and took out a metal test tube from the counter behind him. The test tube is silvery white all over, with only the middle part being transparent, so you can clearly see that there is a tube of blue liquid stored inside. Cardo looked at the test tube in Xiao's hand curiously, wondering in his heart, can such a small test tube really enhance his physical fitness? As if sensing the doubt in Cardo's eyes, Xiao chuckled and took the initiative to explain, "This is the Super Soldier Serum. After injection, it can greatly improve physical fitness." Hearing this, Cardo's eyes widened in shock. He couldn't believe what he heard. This seemingly ordinary test tube in front of you actually has such magical effects? He originally had some doubts about Xiao's words, but at this moment he was completely shocked. He stared at the test tube in Xiao's hand, his eyes full of anticipation. At this moment, he couldn't wait to try this magical serum to see if it was as powerful as Xiao said. Xiao was not in a hurry to give it to him, but smiled and said, "Don't worry, give me the money first, a total of 999,990,000 taels." Cardo's eyes widened in shock. He didn't expect it to be so expensive, but at the thought of being able to improve his strength, he could then kill those bandits. He agreed immediately and took out a bank card from his pocket and handed it to Xiao. "We don't know if the Hokage has a bank card, so if he doesn't have one, just assume he has one." Xiao happily took the bank card, swiped it casually, and returned the card to Kakuzu. Seeing this, Cardo was confused and explained, "Boss, you have to take the card to the bank to withdraw it yourself." Xiao smiled and said, "It's okay. I've already taken the money from the card." Xiao naturally withdrew the money from the bank card through the system. Cardo widened his eyes, his face full of disbelief. He never expected that this boss would have such mysterious methods. Xiao carefully handed the test tube containing blue liquid to Cardo and said with a smile, "Wait a moment, I'll get you the syringe now." Having said that, he turned and left. Cardo held the test tube tightly in his hand, staring at the blue liquid inside, with an irrepressible excitement on his face. Although he didn't know how much this serum could improve his physical fitness, he knew that it was expensive, so he believed that its effect would not disappoint Cardo. At this moment, Xiao came back with a syringe in his hand. He skillfully inserted the needle into the test tube and extracted the super serum. This serum has a side effect, which is that it will subtly transform the user into an upright person. Xiao said. Cardo had no objection to this. It was normal for such a powerful serum to have some side effects. This minor side effect is still acceptable. After all, if you want to become strong, you have to pay a price. Boss, I get it. Just inject it, said Cardo. Hearing this, Xiao inserted the needle into Cardo's arm without hesitation, slowly pushed the syringe, and injected the serum into his body. As the serum was injected, Cardo felt a powerful force gradually spreading throughout his body, and he couldn't help but widen his eyes. Xiao pulled out the needle, quietly stepped aside, and observed the changes in Cardo. Ah! The severe pain from his body was unbearable for Cardo. He roared and rolled on the ground. Rib! Suddenly, a sharp tearing sound was heard, and Cardo's muscles bulged rapidly, tearing his suit. What is even more shocking is that Cardo, who was originally only about 1.5 meters tall, has miraculously grown nearly 40 centimeters taller, reaching about 1.9 meters. The intense pain gradually subsided, and Cardo finally slowly got up from the ground. At this time, Cardo's height had grown to 1.9 meters, and his muscles were as hard as steel, full of unparalleled power. Cardo gazed at the amazing changes in his body and felt an indescribable joy in his heart. He could clearly feel the endless power in his body, as if it could destroy everything. He tried to clench his fists and felt the strength gathering at his fingertips. He knew that he had become extremely powerful, and this feeling made him extremely excited. Xiao was a little surprised by Cardo's change. It's really worthy of being Captain America's super soldier serum, the effect is different. It seems that a captain from an island country is about to appear in the ninja world. Thank you, boss. Cardo said gratefully. If it weren't for Xiao, he would still be running for his life and eventually be killed by bandits. Just then, there was a noise outside the house. He must be hiding inside, let's go in and search. Chapter 34. Hearing the noise outside, Kaido bowed to Xiao and said, "Thank you for your help, boss. I'll be back soon." After saying that, he turned and left, eager to test his current strength on those bandits. Watching Cardo leave, Xiao followed him curiously, wanting to see how powerful the super soldier serum was. After all, it was with the help of this serum that Captain America transformed from a weakling of 1.6 meters into a muscular man over 2 meters tall, and his physical fitness is also terrifyingly strong. Cardo's physical condition is actually very similar to Captain America's. Xiao wants to see how much power he can unleash. Outdoors. Dozens of bandits holding knives were slowly approaching the house. They were afraid that there was danger in the house and did not rush in directly. There is an ancient building in such a remote place, which looks very strange. If we rush in directly and there is real danger, won't we be doomed? Boss, are we going in? Asked a bandit. The scarred man took a look at the store and gritted his teeth and said, "FK, let's fight. We'll stop after we finish this job." Upon hearing this, the bandits immediately became more energized and were ready to rush into the store. They had heard long before that there was a wealthy businessman in the Wave Country who would come to the Fire Country to trade in the next few days. As long as they could capture this wealthy businessman and obtain his wealth, the money would definitely be enough for these bandits to live a worry-free life for the rest of their lives. They thought the risk was quite high at first, but they didn't expect that the bodyguards of this wealthy businessman were just ordinary people, not ninjas. This made them very excited, so they followed Cardo all the way here. Just as they were about to break into the store, a muscular man about 1.9 meters tall walked out. When the bandits saw the appearance of the person who came, they were so shocked that they were speechless. What did they see? Isn't the tall and strong man in front of me the wealthy businessman who ran in just now? How did he become like this? The short rich businessman who had run in suddenly turned into a muscular man who was about 1.9 meters tall. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Could this guy be upgraded? The scarred burly man muttered. The bandits behind him also looked as if they had seen a ghost. Cardo's change was too exaggerated. Seeing Cardo walking towards them, no one dared to take action for a moment. At this time, Cardo had already walked in front of the scarred man. Now Cardo was half a head taller than the scarred man. Therefore, the scar-faced sturdy man could only look up at Cardo. There was a hint of fear in his eyes when he looked at Cardo, but he quickly realized that he was actually scared by a wealthy businessman, which made him feel ashamed for licking blood on the tip of a knife. Scarface roared, "Brothers, kill him for lousy." As he said that, he raised the knife in his hand and slashed at Cardo. Hearing this, the brothers behind him rushed up immediately, looking as if they wanted to hack Cardo to death with their swords. Faced with the sudden attack, Cardo subconsciously raised his arms to block it. Dang! A sound of metal collision was heard. The scarred burly man looked incredulous, and the younger brothers behind him subconsciously stopped when they saw this. It was seen that Cardo's arm easily blocked this powerful knife. This is impossible. This is definitely fake. The scarred burly man continued to pick up the knife and chopped at Cardo's hand. Ding, ding, ding. There was a series of collisions and sparks flew. The bandits were shocked. What did they see? The boss used a knife to chop the rich businessman's arm, and it was like chopping steel, and even sparks flew. In the end, the knife in the scar-faced man's hand had been cut into many pieces, but Cardo didn't react at all. Cardo subconsciously looked at his arm and found only a few shallow marks on it. As expected, Cardo's physical fitness is now so strong that even the machete cannot cause any harm to him. Have you had enough fun? Cardo suddenly said with a smile. In the eyes of the bandits, Cardo's smile was like a devil smiling at them. Ghost. The scarred man threw the knife in his hand to the ground and turned and ran without hesitation. When the other bandits saw their leader running away, they also dropped their knives and ran away. Did I let you go? Cardo's eyes were fierce. He suddenly caught up with a bandit and punched him on the back. The bandit's body flew straight out like a kite with a broken string, and only stopped after crashing into several trees, then fell to the ground in a bloody mess. The other bandits were so frightened when they saw this that they quickly quickened their pace to run away. Help! Help! Someone's killing me! When Cardo heard the bandits shouting, the corners of his mouth twitched. Wasn't this the line he had just said? Unexpectedly, the situation has changed and it is their turn to shout. He then dodged and ran behind the shouting bandit and punched him. The bandit died instantly. Tisk, one punch to kill a kid. Xiao at the door exclaimed. As time went by, the bandits fell one after another, and finally only the scarred man was left alive. When he realized that Cardo had run behind him, he was terrified and immediately knelt down and kowtowed frantically, begging with tears, "Uncle, I know I was wrong, please let me go." Cardo looked indifferently at the sturdy man who was knelt and begged for mercy in front of him, and couldn't help but think of the bodyguards who had also knelt and begged for mercy. However, the bodyguards did not receive his mercy, but were ruthlessly killed by him. Although Cardo believed that the bodyguards deserved to die, he would not easily forgive the bandit in front of him. After all, the other party had just tried to take his life. If it weren't for the serum provided by the boss, he might have become a cold corpse and been abandoned in the wilderness. Thinking of this, a surge of anger surged in Cardo's heart. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped the scarred man hard in the face. The powerful force caused the scarred man's head to fly off instantly, and blood splattered everywhere. Xiao saw the bloody scene in front of him and quickly closed his eyes. What a sin, what a sin! Remember to clean up the body. I still have business to do here. Got it, boss. Cardo said, and began to clean up the corpses. Xiao returned to the store and saw that Cardo's physical fitness at this time was absolutely unique in the ninja world. I'm afraid that in the current ninja world, there are not many people who can threaten Cardo's life. Boss, I've taken care of it. Just then, Cardo walked in and shouted. Xiao smiled and said, just take care of it. Is there anything else you need? Hearing this, Cardo shook his head and said, Boss, I don't need anything else. Xiao was a little disappointed, but still smiled and said, okay, come find me if you need anything in the future. As I said, as long as the money is in place, I can get you anything. I definitely will, boss. Cardo bowed to Xiao again. Chapter 35. After saying goodbye to Xiao, Cardo left the Fire Kingdom and headed for the Wave Kingdom at a very fast speed. Wave Country, Shipping Company. President, is that you? The security guard at the door asked in shock. Cardo nodded, ignored the security guard's words, and walked into the company. After returning to the office, Cardo was a little confused. He suddenly turned from an ordinary businessman into a super strong man. The sudden change of identity made him feel confused. Boom boom boom! Just then, there was a knock on the door. Come in. A bald man wearing sunglasses walked in. When he saw Cardo's appearance, he subconsciously took off his sunglasses, widened his eyes and said in disbelief, President, how did you become like this? Cardo just went to the Fire Nation, how come he suddenly grew so tall? Can the milk from the Fire Nation really make people grow taller? Cardo didn't respond, but frowned, and said, "What do you want?" Hearing this, the bald man suppressed his shock and walked to Cardo and sat down. "Boss, a batch of goods just arrived today. Do you want to go take a look?" Although Cardo is the president of the shipping company in name only, he has been making money by smuggling contraband in secret. Under normal circumstances, Cardo would definitely run over with joy to see what these goods were like. But today he did not feel happy, instead he felt depressed, and he didn't know why. After a moment of silence, Cardo said, "Let's go." "Okay." The bald man hurriedly led the way. Soon, the two left the company and walked to the port. At this time, a black ship was docked at the dock, and several people were constantly moving boxes from the ship to the dock. After unloading all the boxes, the black ship left without hesitation. Looking at the dozen boxes placed on the dock, the bald man opened one of the boxes, took out a bag of white powder, and said with a smile, "Hey, President, what do you think of this batch of goods? It will definitely sell for a good price." After seeing the bag of white powder, Cardo felt more and more depressed and his breathing became heavy. This feeling made him very uncomfortable, just like a person with obsessive-compulsive disorder seeing very incongruous objects. Cardo knew that this was the side effect that his boss had mentioned before. This serum can subtly influence the user, making him or her gradually become a person with inner justice. As the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. If you have power beyond that of an ordinary person, you should make good use of it and choose to help those in need, instead of relying on strength to do whatever you want. At this moment, Cardo is being affected by the serum, and he will slowly become a superhero who upholds justice. Perhaps this is the price of becoming strong. Cardo murmured in a low voice. Just like Captain America back then, let's call Cardo the captain of the island nation. "President, what's wrong with you?" The bald man asked hurriedly when he saw that Cardo had a strange expression. "I don't think we can do such a conscienceless thing," Cardo said suddenly. "Ah!" The bald man was confused. What did he just hear? The president actually said such a thing? You have to know that it was Cardo who brought him into the gang to smuggle contraband. The bald man didn't understand why Cardo would say such a thing. He asked tentatively, "President, did you smoke secretly?" Hearing this, Cardo's mouth twitched and he almost fell to the ground. Suddenly, he raised his foot and kicked a box hard, sending it flying into the sea. The bald man's eyes widened, filled with astonishment and confusion. It is not known whether he was shocked by Cardo's strength or by Cardo's kicking the box into the sea. "Are you crazy?" the bald man exclaimed. "This box is full of good stuff. If I sell it, I will definitely make a lot of money." But now, Cardo threw them into the sea without hesitation, just like he was disposing of garbage. Cardo ignored the bald man's shouts. He continued to kick the remaining boxes, kicking them into the sea one by one. There were sounds of heavy objects falling into the sea, splashing water. In the end, the only box left on the dock was the one that the bald man had just opened. Cardo stared quietly into the distance, his eyes fixed on the ship that had just left. He took a deep breath and suddenly kicked hard, kicking the box at his feet towards the ship. The box shot out like an arrow and rushed towards the ship. In the blink of an eye, the box hit the hull with a dull thud. Boom! The whole world seemed to be shaken. Under the huge impact force, the ship broke into two pieces in an instant, then sank into the sea and disappeared. After seeing this scene, the bald man was stunned on the spot. He wanted to curse Cardo but couldn't say anything. How did the president become so strong after a trip to the Fire Country? With the power displayed by Cardo, even those ninja masters cannot do it. At this moment, the bald man found that Cardo's eyes fell on him, which made him feel very flustered. Could it be that Cardo would kick him too? With the strength displayed by Cardo, he would definitely die if he was kicked. The bald man said in a trembling voice, President, you are right. We can't throw away our conscience just to make money." Cardo nodded and patted the bald man's shoulder with satisfaction. "I'm glad that you think this way." The bald man heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Cardo had no intention of attacking him. Cardo smiled and said, "The only right way is to do business honestly." The bald man nodded quickly, "The president is right. From now on, I will do business honestly." "Very good, then from now on, you are the new president of the shipping company," said Cardo. "Hey!" The bald man looked confused, "I'm the president, so what do you do?" Cardo looked at the sea level for a long time before he whispered, I plan to resign and then go to maintain world peace. Hearing this, the bald man opened his mouth in shock. Cardo actually gave up his job as president and wanted to maintain world peace? Is it really not because of too much inhalation that hallucinations occur? But he immediately thought that the strength that Cardo had just demonstrated was indeed capable of maintaining world peace. After all, none of the ninja masters he had met seemed to be able to defeat the current Cardo. The bald man said excitedly, President, I believe you will succeed. Cardo smiled and said, just do your business honestly. I will come back to see you when I have time. Yes. President, I will definitely make the company bigger and stronger. Come on, I believe you can do it. When Cardo saw the torn suit on his body, he suddenly thought that before maintaining world peace, he should first order a set of clothes to show his identity. Chapter 36. After Cardo's battlesuit was customized, he left the land of waves and began wandering around the ninja world, looking for those who needed help. That night, Cardo passed through the Fire Nation. Although he was previously very unhappy about the third Hokage's unwillingness to do business with him, he is now a hero, and a hero naturally has to be tolerant. So, he decided to go to Konoha village to see if anyone needed his help. After all, he has helped many people along the way and received thanks from many people. This feeling makes Cardo feel extremely satisfied. When he was almost at Konoha village, he suddenly saw two masked men running towards him. As long as we leave the fire country, we will be safe. Don't get caught by the Hyuga clan. Cardo suddenly discovered that one of the men had a little girl under his armpit. He flew into a rage. How dare you do such a shameless thing as stealing a child? Cardo suddenly spoke, startling the two men, and they subconsciously looked in Cardo's direction. All I saw was a man in a blue tights and a mask standing there and shouting. Where did this fool come from in the middle of the night? The man holding the child said, Don't waste time. Get rid of this fool quickly. I'm leaving now. Having said that, the man quickly left with the little girl. Die. Another man took out a kunai and threw it at Cardo's forehead without hesitation. He was confident that Cardo was dead, so he turned around and left. However, at this moment, a crisp clang sound of metal collision was heard. The man subconsciously turned his head when he heard the sound, and saw that after the kunai hit Cardo's forehead, it was as if it hit hard steel, bursting out dazzling sparks, and then was bounced away. Seeing this, the man's pupils suddenly contracted and he was shocked. What kind of monster is this? His face became extremely ugly and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Then he quickly took out a kunai from his ninja tool bag and prepared to throw it at Cardo again. However, when he looked up, he was surprised to find that Cardo, who was standing in front of him, had disappeared. The entire forest was unusually quiet, with only the man's heavy breathing as the sound could be heard. He looked around nervously, trying to find Cardo, but found nothing. Is it a ghost in the middle of the night? The man's voice was filled with fear and trembling. He couldn't understand why Cardo suddenly disappeared without a trace. At this moment, a cold voice sounded behind him, Are you looking for me? The man's heart trembled, and he turned around quickly, only to see Cardo's figure appear in front of him. Before he could react, Cardo slapped him in the face. The huge force caused his head to spin dozens of times in an instant, and everything in front of him was blurry. Finally, his body fell straight to the ground, without even having time to let out a scream. There is another one. After Cardo dealt with one, he looked at the figure running in the distance. Tap, tap, tap. The other man who was running wildly heard the noise and subconsciously looked back, and found that Cardo was chasing him at a very fast speed. His face turned pale instantly. He didn't expect that his companion would be eliminated in such a short time. You know, the strength of both of them is similar. Since the other party could take care of his companions so quickly, he could also easily take care of him. This made him very panicked and he quickly quickened his pace. He knew very well that if he was caught up by Cardo, he would be dead. Call out. He only felt a gust of wind, and then Cardo was already standing in front of him, blocking his way. The man looked at Cardo in horror, his heart filled with despair. He knew that he was no match for the man in front of him. Although his legs were shaking, he forced himself to calm down and tried to negotiate with Cardo. Senior, we have no grudges against each other. Please let me go. The man's voice was pleading. Cardo sneered, You damn human trafficker, I will never let you go today. His eyes flashed with anger and murderous intent. He absolutely could not tolerate such people continuing to do evil. Hearing this, the man's face instantly turned extremely pale, bloodless, but even so, he still gritted his teeth and forced himself to threaten, I am from Cloud Shinobi Village. If you kill me, Reikage-sama will never let you go. You are making an enemy of the entire land of lightning. You dare to threaten me? You're simply courting death. Kaido flashed and suddenly appeared behind the man. The man didn't have time to react at all, and Kaido broke his neck without hesitation. The man lost his life instantly and his body fell straight to the ground. Kaido moved extremely quickly. The moment the man fell, he quickly caught the little girl in his arms. He looked at the unconscious little girl in his arms, anger welling up in his heart, and said viciously, they were so cruel to kill such a cute little girl. It was really too easy for them to kill her like that. In front, don't let them get away. Just then, dozens of people in kimonos ran towards Kaido. When they saw Kaido and the body of Cloud Shinobi on the ground, they all froze. One of the men in kimono stepped forward, bowed respectfully, and said, thank you for saving my daughter. I am Hyuga Hayashi, the head of the Hyuga clan. Kaido looked at Hyuga Hayashi, but instead of rushing to hand the little girl over to him, he said, whether you are the little girl's father or not, wait until she wakes up and tell me. Hyuga Hayashi immediately understood what Kaido meant. It turned out that the other party did not believe that he was the father of his child. But he did not feel dissatisfied, but smiled, and said, okay, I will listen to my benefactor. Seeing Hyuga Hayashi's reaction, Kaido almost knew that the little girl in his arms was his child. He suddenly asked, how did Cloud Shinobi sneak into Konoha and steal the children of the Hyuga clan? Hyuga Hayashi said angrily, damn Cloud Shinobi village. They sneaked into my Hyuga clan in the middle of the night under the pretext of negotiating and stole my daughter. If it weren't for your help, the consequences would be disastrous. After hearing Hyuga Hayashi's explanation, Kaido was furious and punched the ground hard, and a deep hole was instantly formed on the ground. I never thought that the Lightning Nation, one of the 5 great nations, would do such a despicable thing. When the Hyuga people saw Kaido create a big hole with just one punch, they all swallowed subconsciously. My goodness, what kind of powerful force must be needed to achieve this? At this moment, the little girl in Kaido's arms slowly woke up. When she opened her eyes and saw Hyuga Hayashi, she quickly stood up, ran into his arms, and shouted, Father. After confirming that Hyuga Hayashi was the little girl's father, Kaido immediately turned around and prepared to leave, wanting to go to the land of lightning to teach the 4th Reikage a lesson. Hyuga Hayashi looked at Kaido's back and hurriedly shouted, Benefactor, I don't even know your name. You can call me the captain of the island nation. With that, Kaido left quickly. Captain, of the island nation. Hyuga Hayashi murmured as he watched Kaido leave. Chapter 37. Land of Lightning, Cloud Shinobi Village. 2 figures sneaked into the Reikage building stealthily. Obito easily knocked down the 2 guards who were guarding him, and he and Black Zetsu opened the Reikage's office openly. Black Zetsu followed Obito into the office. Cloud Shinobi Village is really a bunch of reckless people. They only sent 2 people to guard such an important place. Obito sneered, today I will teach them a lesson. He, Obito-kun is right, let me see where the vault is hidden. Black Zetsu said excitedly. After that, the 2 began to search in the office. After a while, Black Zetsu shouted, Obito-kun, I found it. Hearing this, Obito quickly moved over. Just behind the Reikage's desk, there was a metal door. Tisk, I didn't expect the vault to be placed in such a conspicuous place. Obito said. Let's go in. Black Zetsu said excitedly, and he went into the vault. Seeing this, Obito quickly followed in. As expected of one of the 5 great nations, the finances of the Reikage village are quite substantial. Black Zetsu exclaimed. Obito nodded in agreement, can these reckless people in Cloud Shinobi village spend all this money? They certainly can't spend all of it, Obito-kun. Black Zetsu said. Then let us spend the money for them. As they said this, the 2 smiled at each other. Obito-kun, let's start quickly. Time is tight and the task is heavy. We have to evacuate the entire Cloud Shinobi village tonight, otherwise it will be troublesome when they react, said Black Zetsu. Upon hearing this, Obito did not hesitate and immediately moved all the money in the vault into the Kamui space. The 2 of them quickly emptied the vault of the Reikage building, and without stopping, they immediately headed to the major families in Cloud Shinobi village to begin their money-making business. The two of them worked all night, and until dawn, they finally toured the entire Cloud Shinobi village. At this time, both of them were already exhausted and out of breath. Obito felt a sting in his eyes, so he rubbed them with his hands. Even though he had Hashirama cells transplanted into him and had pervert-like recovery abilities, the intense use of Kamui for a whole night still took a toll on his eyes. "Shit, Obito-kun, your eyes are bleeding!" Black Zetsu exclaimed. Hearing this, Obito subconsciously loosened his hands from rubbing his eyes and indeed found that his hands were covered in blood. Obito was stunned when he saw this. You know, in all these years, his eyes only bled when he first activated Manjiki, and never bled again after that. Obito quickly wiped the blood from the corner of his eye. It seems that the intensity of work these days is too great. It seems that we need to take a good rest. Black Zetsu heard this and nodded in agreement. The intensity of their work these days is really too high. They go out to make money at night and count the night's harvest during the day. As a result, they had no time to rest, so Black Zetsu suggested that they go back to the Fire Country to rest together and give you his money. Because Black Zetsu didn't have a fixed place to hide his money, he kept the money in Obito's space. Obito nodded, and the two immediately prepared to leave Cloud Shinobi Village. Outside Cloud Shinobi Village. After a night of traveling, Kaido finally arrived near Cloud Shinobi Village. He planned to rest nearby before heading to Cloud Shinobi Village to seek explanations from the fourth Raikage. After all, it was really unkind of Cloud Shinobi Village to kidnap a little girl. He decided to teach the fourth Raikage a lesson. Thinking of this, Kaido found a tree and prepared to have a good sleep. Just then, he heard people talking in the distance. He moved his ears and immediately heard clearly what they were talking about. He, Obito-kun, how much do you think we gained in Cloud Shinobi Village this time? We've visited all the major families and Raikage buildings in Cloud Shinobi Village. I think we've made over 4 billion this time. Hey, I think so too. Where should we go next? After 2 days of rest, let's go to the land of Earth. Well, those reckless people in Cloud Shinobi Village probably haven't noticed that their money is gone yet. Kaido heard their conversation clearly and his eyes widened. Did these two steal the entire Cloud Shinobi Village? Although Kaido felt that Cloud Shinobi Village deserved to have its money stolen, he couldn't just watch the two thieves succeed. So he quickly jumped down from the tree and ran in the direction of the sound. Stop right there, you two thieves! Obito and Zetsu heard shouting behind them. They turned their heads and saw a muscular Mediterranean man in a blue tights chasing after them. Cloud Shinobi Village's reaction was so quick. Obito muttered, his tone full of surprise. Looking at the tall, muscular man in front of them, the two men subconsciously assumed that he was a ninja from Cloud Shinobi Village. At this moment, Kaido suddenly accelerated and rushed towards the two people like a speeding cannonball. His speed was so fast that both Obito and Black Zetsu were shocked. Kaido stood in front of the two men, held out his hand to stop them and shouted, "Any evil will be brought to justice. You two, quickly hand over the money you stole from Cloud Shinobi Village." Obito and Ju looked at each other and suddenly burst into laughter. "You're killing me with laughter, Obito-kun. Look, he's already old, but he can still say such childish things." Black Zetsu laughed heartily, his voice full of teasing and sarcasm. "Haha, any evil will be brought to justice. This really makes me laugh to death." Obito couldn't help but laugh out loud. The fact that a big Mediterranean man would say such a thing made the two men doubt Kaido's intelligence. "You two thieves, stop laughing. Hand over the money immediately." Seeing the two men laughing so hard, Kaido couldn't help but get angry and shouted loudly. When the two still didn't react, he swung his fist at Obito. "So fast!" Obito exclaimed. He immediately activated Hollow and easily dodged Kaido's attack. Kaido found that his fist actually went through it, and his face was full of disbelief. Just as they were stunned, Obito suddenly raised his foot and kicked Kaido in the chin. Kaido flew backwards immediately, but quickly got up and attacked Obito frantically, but he couldn't hit Obito. Obito took advantage of the gap between Kaido's attacks and hit him. But to Obito's surprise, the opponent's defense was amazing and his attack did not cause much damage to him. If physical skills don't work, then let's use illusion. Obito suddenly looked at Kaido. After making eye contact with Obito, Kaido froze in place for a moment. This surprised Obito a little, he didn't expect that he could control the other party so easily. Is the resistance to illusion very weak? Obito murmured. Obito-kun, what is he going to do? Black Zetsu said, pointing at Cardo who was caught in the illusion. His terrifying physical fitness makes him a good experimental subject. I'll take him back and let Orochimaru study him. I think he will definitely be interested. Obito said. Just like that, Cardo, who wanted to be a superhero, eventually fell into the hands of Uchiha Obito. Chapter 38. The Fire Nation. Obito carried Cardo, who was trapped in an illusion, all the way to the land of fire. In the cave where the spoils were divided before. I'm so tired. Obito said and threw Cardo to the ground. He didn't expect Cardo to be so heavy. He carried Cardo so far. If Obito didn't have the blessing of Hashirama cells, it would be impossible for him to run to the land of fire in one breath. Bang! Cardo's body fell straight to the ground without any reaction. Obito looked at Cardo's sturdy figure and murmured, he has such a strong physique. I don't know what he ate to grow up. He decided to hand Cardo over to Orochimaru for research. What was going on with this guy? Obito felt that Cardo's physical strength was even stronger than that of the fourth Raikage. Such strong physical fitness reminded Obito of the third Raikage, who was known as the strongest Raikage in history. You have to know that the third Raikage was alone against the siege of tens of thousands of ninjas, but he persisted for 3 days and 3 nights, and was finally killed after he was exhausted. I don't know, who has stronger physical fitness, this guy or the third Raikage? Obito whispered. Since he had never seen the third Raikage fight, he couldn't tell who was stronger or weaker. Obito-kun, don't worry about who is stronger, just take out our gains and count how much we have. I think this harvest is the highest ever. Black Zetsu rubbed his hands excitedly and said to Obito. Hearing this, Obito finally realized that now was not the time to think about these things, making money was his only goal now. He quickly activated the Manjiki Sharingan and released all the money he had earned in Cloud Shinobi Village from the Kamui space. I saw bundles of banknotes on the ground, and as time went by, the piles of banknotes on the ground became higher and higher. Obito didn't stop until the money piled up into a mountain, occupying 2/3 of the cave's volume. Obito felt his eyes moist, and he subconsciously touched them with his hand, only to find that they were covered in blood. However, he had no time to care about his eyes now. He stared at the mountain of money in front of him with fiery eyes and his saliva was almost flowing out. FK, how much money is this? Black Zetsu exclaimed. Looking at the size of the mountain of money, Black Zetsu knew that their gain this time was more than their previous gains combined. The two of them then plunged into the mountain of money and began to count their harvest. Day turned into night, and night turned into day again. After a day and a night of hard work, the two finally counted the harvest. 5, 10, 500 million. Black Zetsu stuttered with excitement. Obito's breathing became very rapid after learning this number. 5,800,000,000. 5,800,000,000. This is 5,800,000,000. They never expected that they would have such a great harvest in Cloud Shinobi Village, which made them a little confused. Isn't it said that the Fire Country is the richest village? Why does Cloud Shinobi Village have so much more money than Konoha Village? You have to know that their gains in Konoha Village were only more than 3 billion, while Cloud Shinobi Village had nearly 6 billion. They didn't understand where these reckless men got so much money. Could it be that they had no habit of spending money? No matter what the reason is for Cloud Shinobi Village to have such a huge amount of wealth, in the end, the money will all be theirs. Faced with such a huge amount of wealth, the two men were so excited that their brains were now lacking oxygen. They sat on the ground in a daze, not knowing what they were thinking. After a long time, Obito and Black Zetsu came back to their senses. They stood up tremblingly and looked at the banknotes in front of them. They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. After a long while, Black Zetsu said, "Bring, Obito-kun, let's start dividing the spoils." Obito swallowed, "Okay. My harvest this time is 2.9 billion. As he said this, he activated Manjiki and sucked his half of the money into the Kamui space. Black Zetsu once again looked at Obito's eyes with envy, if only he also had a Kamui space, so that he could put his harvest into the space, but unfortunately he didn't have one. He could only ask the White Zetsu to help him guard his money. Fortunately, the White Zetsu were the products of the sacred tree and were absolutely loyal to him, otherwise the Black Zetsu would not dare to let them help him guard his money. Obito suddenly felt a stinging pain in his eyes and quickly covered his eyes. He knew it was caused by overuse of the eyes. "Looks like I need to rest for a few days," Obito muttered. Hearing this, Black Zetsu nodded in agreement. "Obito-kun is right, it's time for us to rest." The high intensity of making money during this period was a bit overwhelming for him. He originally wanted to come back and have a rest, but it took him another day to count the harvest. Obito nodded and said, "Let's rest for 3 days first, and then we'll gather here." As he said that, he carried Kaido out of the cave. After Obito left, Black Zetsu looked at the money in the cave with his eyes shining. "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect to make 2.9 billion from this one vote." Adding the 2.6 billion he earned before, he now has 5.5 billion. It has only been a short time, but he has earned a quarter of the money. "Mother, I will be able to rescue you soon," Black Zetsu said, tears streaming down his face. "After more than 1,000 years, my mother is finally going to be rescued by me." Black Zetsu quickly wiped away the tears on his face. He knew that now was not the time to be sad. The most urgent task was to move the 2.9 billion to the secret base. He shouted loudly, "Afei, come out and move the money." After a long time, Afei did not come out, and the cave was completely silent. Black Zetsu thought that Afei didn't hear him, so he shouted at the top of his voice, "Afei! Afei! Afei!" His voice was almost hoarse, but Afei still didn't come out. "This guy, is he out studying poop again?" Black Zetsu muttered. So he tried to summon other white Zetsu, but those white Zetsu were just like Afei and did not respond. "What's going on? Are all these guys dead?" Black Zetsu muttered. Suddenly, Black Zetsu finally realized that something was wrong, and he quickly dived underground. He was very panicked at this time. He was afraid that his secret base would be discovered and his hard-earned wealth would be stolen. In a short time, he had imagined in his mind that the robbers had discovered his base, and Afei and his friends wanted to protect the money, but because they were too weak, they were all killed by the robbers in the end. Soon, Black Zetsu arrived at the secret base, and when he saw the empty base, he was completely stunned. He held his head and made a sharp explosion sound. "Ah! Where is my money? Where did all my money go?" Perhaps, only now can Black Zetsu deeply understand the feelings of those victims at that time. Chapter 39. Inside the secret base. It's gone, everything is gone." Black Zetsu broke down and cried, holding his head. All this money was earned by him through hard work from Konoha village. In order to earn this little money, he stayed up all night long during those days and didn't even have a good night's sleep. Even though he made so much money in just 2 nights, only he knew the sadness involved. He was really afraid that he would fail, be caught by the people of Konoha village, and then be beaten to death. He was always cautious every time he took action, and he actually didn't want to do it. But there was no way. The burden on his shoulders made him breathless, because he still had an old mother who was over 1,000 years old who needed him to save. When Black Zetsu's old mother was young, she was slandered by her 2 sons and eventually thrown into prison and sentenced to life imprisonment. But fortunately, she gave birth to Black Zetsu before she was captured, and fortunately Black Zetsu was a filial son. He has been trying various ways to rescue his old mother over the years, but all ended in failure. Finally, some time ago, Black Zetsu met a big man by chance. The big man said that as long as he was given 40 billion, he would help Black Zetsu rescue his mother. When Black Zetsu learned about this, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep, but after the excitement, he started to have troubles again. It was obviously impossible to get so much money quickly through legitimate means, but fortunately, his mother gave him the ability to pass through any object after giving birth to him. So, Black Zetsu used this ability to go to Konoha's vault, but there was so much money in the vault that he couldn't move it all by himself. Then he remembered a silly boy who couldn't hide his tears in Kamui, Uchiha Obito. With Black Zetsu's eloquence, he quickly convinced Obito to join him in making money, and promised to split the money 50-50 afterwards. With the addition of Obito, Black Zetsu's speed of committing crimes has indeed greatly increased. It only took the 2 of them 2 days to empty the entire Konoha. After dividing the spoils, Black Zetsu handed the money to his trusted Afei for management, and he went to the land of lightning with Obito. But unexpectedly, when he came back, he found that all the money he earned in Konoha was gone, and even his brothers were gone. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu felt dizzy and the grief in his heart was indescribable. He seemed to have lost all his strength. His legs went limp and he knelt weakly on the ground. He clenched his fists and slammed them to the ground, crying bitterly, "Wow, why am I so unlucky? Why is this happening? Why do you treat me like this?" Pa pa pa. At this moment, Black Zetsu suddenly felt that his fist seemed to hit something strange, like a soft and elastic substance. He looked down curiously and saw a pool of white liquid in front of him. Black Zetsu frowned and took a closer look, but was surprised to find that the more he looked at this pool of liquid, the more it looked like feces. Black Zetsu stood up and looked around, and suddenly found several spots of this liquid all around. He found that there were many such liquids around, which made him feel creepy. He couldn't accept this fact and couldn't help but burst into tears again. Wow, Ah-Fei, you died so miserably. You were beaten to a pulp. Black Zetsu suddenly realized the problem while crying. He stopped crying and opened his eyes wide. He stared at the poop on the ground in amazement, muttering to himself, how can White Zetsu have poop? This made Black Zetsu feel incredible. Could it be that Ah-Fei really figured out how to poop? Black Zetsu quickly shook his head to get rid of this unrealistic idea from his mind. Impossible, White Zetsu's body structure is like that, no matter how much research is done, it is impossible for him to poop. No one in this world can do this kind of thing. As he was talking, Black Zetsu's eyes suddenly widened, and he suddenly thought of that shop. If it's that boss, maybe he can do it. Black Zetsu said. Black Zetsu was stunned for a moment. He looked back at the empty base, and then at the dozen or so puddles of feces on the ground. Suddenly, a bad idea came to my mind. Could it be that Ah-Fei used the money from the base to ask the boss to help him transform his body so that he could defecate? So, all the shit on the ground belongs to Afira. No way. Black Zetsu said in disbelief. As he said that, he began to carefully check the situation in the cave. There was no body of White Zetsu, and no signs of a fight. This means that his guess was correct. It was really that beast Ah-Fei who took all the money in the base away, and then used the money to go to Xiao to transform his body. A hole. Ah-Fei, you beast. I'm going to kill you. Black Zetsu cursed. He really couldn't understand it. This was 2.6 billion. Even if he used it to transform his body, it was impossible to spend so much money. The money in the base was his hard-earned money. He trusted Ah-Fei so much that he entrusted this huge sum of money to it for protection. But Ah-Fei, this traitor, turned his kindness into enmity and stole all his money. You have to know that this money is very important to him, it is the money to resurrect his mother. Black Zetsu was so angry that his eyes turned black and he collapsed to the ground, and happened to sit on the puddle of feces. But he didn't react, instead he silently shed tears. Mother, even White Zetsu betrayed me, Wivu. On the other side, somewhere in the Fire Nation. Ah ha ha ha, come and see my heart-shaped poop. Ah-Fei put his hands on his hips, a smug smile on his face, and shouted loudly. Hearing Ah-Fei's shout, the other White Zetsu gathered around curiously. They looked at the unique heart-shaped poop on the ground and couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Wow! Master Ah-Fei is so powerful. He can even make such a perfect heart-shaped poop. I will never be able to poop out this shape in my lifetime. Master Ah-Fei is really amazing. Master Ah-Fei, how did you do it? Can you teach us? Hearing the compliments from his younger brothers, Kakuzu's mouth almost stretched to his ears, and he was secretly proud of himself. It explained with a smile, it's not that easy to pull out poop in this shape, it requires skills. First, you need to adjust your body posture, and then control the strength and speed. Ah-Fei talked incessantly about his experiences, and the other White Zetsu listened with great interest, nodding in agreement from time to time. In this way, under Ah-Fei's teaching, other White Zetsu began to try to imitate Ah-Fei's method and strive to defecate heart-shaped feces. Although they were not successful at first, after many attempts, several White Zetsu finally succeeded in defecation in the shape of a heart, causing everyone to cheer. The whole scene was filled with an atmosphere of joy and harmony. Chapter 40. Black Zetsu's Secret Base. Black Zetsu collapsed on the ground and cried, "Why am I so miserable? I lost my mother when I was just born. I finally made money, but was betrayed by my own little brother. Wivu." This was the first time in over 1,000 years that Black Zetsu had broken through defenses like this. Even when he had tried many methods and still failed to rescue his mother, he had never collapsed as much as he did now. After a long while, Black Zetsu wiped away his tears silently after venting. Perhaps, this is the world of adults? He sat up from the ground and looked at the empty cave for a long time without saying a word. After a while, he laughed at himself. I never thought that as a great thief in the ninja world, I would have such a day. If it weren't for his own experience, Black Zetsu would never have dreamed that he who often stole from other people's homes, would one day have his home stolen from by others. It's like hunting geese all year round, only to get your eyes pecked by sparrows. It was bad enough that his home was robbed, but the other party was his trusted younger brother, which was something Black Zetsu couldn't stand. It was unknown how long it took Black Zetsu to come out of this sad mood. He stood up and said with a firm look, "Isn't it just over 2 billion? I will be able to earn it back sooner or later." However, before that, Black Zetsu wants to go to Yung Xiao and ask Yung Xiao to help him find the exact location of Afei. After all, Afei, this traitor, actually betrayed him, and he would definitely not let this guy Afei go. So, Black Zetsu quickly set off to Yung Xiao's shop. At the border of the Fire Nation, Yung Xiao's shop. I wonder when Black Zetsu and Obito will be able to collect those tens of billions. Yung Xiao murmured. As long as the two of them can make that much money, Yung Xiao will have money to buy powerful products, so that he can have the capital to travel around the outside world. He has been in the Hokage world for so long, but he has yet to go out and take a look. After all, the ninja world is too chaotic. What if a weakling like him goes out and gets killed? Ding dong! This is the sensor doorbell that Yung Xiao just installed. It will ring when someone enters the store. Finally, there are guests. Yung Xiao looked towards the door excitedly. When he saw the person clearly, he was immediately excited. He didn't expect that the person was Black Zetsu. Could it be that he had already collected 40 billion? Yung Xiao hurriedly went to greet him and said flatteringly, "Boss, Black Zetsu is so honored to be here. We are so sorry for not welcoming you in person." Black Zetsu is a big customer of the store. Although he has never spent a penny in the Yung Xiao store, he spends his money wisely. If he doesn't spend money, it's fine. But when he does, it's a big order worth tens of billions. Yung Xiao must serve this gentleman well. Black Zetsu was a little overwhelmed by Yung Xiao's enthusiasm. He quickly said, "Boss, this is out of the question." In Black Zetsu's eyes, Yung Xiao was an omnipotent boss, and he was really flattered that he was so enthusiastic towards him. Yung Xiao rubbed his hands excitedly, "Boss Black Zetsu, has the money been collected?" "Don't worry, as long as the money is in place, I will call people over to help you blow up the moon," Yung Xiao promised, patting his chest. Hearing Yung Xiao's words, Black Zetsu's eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed again. Yung Xiao noticed the changes in Black Zetsu and was a little stunned. What was going on? Could it be that Black Zetsu hasn't made any money yet? Then why is he coming to the store? What happened? Yung Xiao asked curiously. Black Zetsu sighed and explained, "Boss, you don't know." Black Zetsu told Yung Xiao everything he had experienced. Yung Xiao's mouth twitched wildly after hearing the end of Black Zetsu. My goodness, he was wondering where did Afei's group of white Zetsu get so much money. It turns out they stole it from the Black Zetsu. Hehe, Afei did spend money in our store and asked me to help him transform his body, Yung Xiao said. After hearing Yung Xiao's words, Black Zetsu showed an expression of as expected. Because the white feces in the base are obviously not what humans can excrete. His purpose of coming to Yung Xiao was to spend money to find Afei's whereabouts, because he felt that body transformation might be a bit expensive, but it was impossible to spend 2.6 billion. The remaining money must have been hidden by Afei. As long as he finds Afei's whereabouts, he can save less money. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu asked tentatively, "Boss, I wonder how much it will cost to transform the body." "Only 50 million. Do you also want to transform your body?" Yung Xiao asked expectantly. Hearing this, Black Zetsu's tense mood finally relaxed. The price was indeed not expensive, only 50 million. Then he still had 2.55 billion taels left. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu laughed again. Fortunately, he didn't lose much, just 50 million taels. The same thing happened to Afei, he ran away for such a small amount of money. He was so nervous that he thought that Afei had spent all his money. Why not just tell him directly? It's only 50 million taels, he can still afford this amount of money. He breathed a sigh of relief and laughed happily. As long as he found Afei, he would be able to get back his more than 2 billion. Yung Xiao saw Black Zetsu suddenly laugh and thought he was killed by the attack, so he quickly comforted him, "Don't be sad, it's just 2.6 billion, right? Take it easy." Black Zetsu. "Boss, are you saying, Afei spent 2.6 billion on you?" Black Zetsu asked in a trembling voice. Yung Xiao nodded. Fei did spend 2.6 billion on my body transformation. Didn't you say that body modification would only cost 50 million? Why did it cost so much? Black Zetsu screamed. Yun Xiao subconsciously covered his ears and explained, the price of a white Zetsu is indeed 50 million taels, but Fei brought too many white Zetsu, so the total cost was 2.6 billion. After hearing Yung Xiao's explanation, Black Zetsu became so angry that his eyes rolled back and he fainted. His body fell straight to the ground. Yung Xiao was so frightened upon seeing this, he originally wanted to give him artificial respiration, but when he saw Black Zetsu's appearance, he just couldn't bring himself to do it. If it was Tsunade or Terumi Mei who fainted, Yung Xiao would definitely go up to her and eat her mouth without hesitation. If he made a mistake, Yung Xiao would definitely perform artificial respiration without hesitation. Yung Xiao looked at Black Zetsu lying on the ground, and imitating the plot in the TV series, he carefully took Black Zetsu into his arms, then stretched out his fingers and pinched Black Zetsu's philtrum. I feel like there's something ambiguous between us. Yung Xiao murmured. Unexpectedly, this method was so effective. Not long after, Black Zetsu slowly opened his eyes. Yung Xiao saw Black Zetsu wake up and asked quickly, Black Zetsu, are you okay? Black Zetsu's eyes were dazed and he seemed a little confused. When he saw the clouds in front of him clearly, his body trembled violently and he said in a trembling voice, 2.6 billion. After saying that, Black Zetsu's head tilted and he fell into coma again. P.S. I was taking a walk outside and my phone fell to the ground, the screen broke, my holy sword. Chapter 41. Yung Xiao saw Black Zetsu's head tilted and then there was no movement, and thought Black Zetsu was angry to death. FK, Black Zetsu, don't scare me. Yung Xiao shook Black Zetsu's body frantically, but Black Zetsu didn't react at all. Black Zetsu, you must not die. Yung Xiao said, and slapped Black Zetsu in the face. Snap, what will I do with my 40 billion if you die? Snap, think about your old mother on the moon. What will happen to her if you die? Snap, you must stay strong and live on. Snap. After Yung Xiao's slaps, the right half of Black Zetsu's face was swollen. Yung Xiao looked at his masterpiece, feeling a little overwhelmed. He originally just wanted to wake up Black Zetsu, but he didn't expect to hit him too hard, causing Black Zetsu's face to be deformed. Just when Yung Xiao didn't know what to do, he saw Black Zetsu's eyes slowly open, and he looked around in confusion, as if he had not yet fully woken up. Yung Xiao was delighted when he saw this. It seemed that his method was still effective, so he quickly said, Black Zetsu, you finally woke up. I didn't expect that he brought Black Zetsu back from the brink of death with just a few slaps. This is simply a miracle. Black Zetsu, who had just woken up from a coma, felt a burning pain on the right side of his face. He subconsciously covered his swollen face from Yun Xiao's slap. What's wrong with me? Didn't Black Zetsu remember that he fainted from anger? Why does my face hurt so much when I wake up? Did I fall sideways just now? That's not right. He clearly remembered that he fell straight to the ground, it was impossible for him to fall on his face. So, he looked at Yung Xiao and asked in confusion, Boss, why does my face hurt so much? Yung Xiao smiled and said, I saw you fainted again just now, and I was afraid that your life was in danger, so I slapped you a few times, hoping that this would wake you up. But it seems that my method is very effective. How do you feel now? As he spoke, Yun Xiao stretched out his red palm to show Black Zetsu, in order to save you, I didn't hold back at all. Yung Xiao's palms still feel burning. After hearing what Yung Xiao said, Black Zetsu was speechless. He didn't expect Yung Xiao to wake him up in this way. But he also knew that Yung Xiao was concerned, so he didn't blame him. Black Zetsu touched his swollen cheek and said with a wry smile, It's okay, it just hurts a little. That's good, that's good. Yung Xiao helped Black Zetsu stand up. After Black Zetsu stood firm, he rubbed his temples, trying to relieve the dizziness. He secretly thanked himself for waking up quickly, otherwise who knows what kind of outrageous things Yun Xiao would do. Boss, can you tell me the exact location of Fei? Black Zetsu gritted his teeth. Yun Xiao smiled and said, Of course, it only costs 5 million taels. Black Zetsu nodded and quickly took out 5 million taels and handed them to Yung Xiao. After Yung Xiao took the money and put it away, he said, Wait a minute. I saw him take the laptop that was on the chair. He spent a full 1 million taels to buy this notebook. It has powerful functions and can be said to be omnipotent. Of course we have to use Sky Eye to find someone. Xiao muttered to himself while typing skillfully on the keyboard, and a satellite bird's eye view quickly appeared on the screen. From this view, it is clear to see a group of white zetsu gathering together. Xiao was a little curious, what were these white zetsu doing? So he slowly enlarged the picture. As the picture gradually became clear, he was surprised to find that in the center of the group of white zetsu, there was a heart-shaped object. The more he looked at it, the more it looked like feces. No, this is clearly a pile of feces. Xiao looked at the scene in front of him and couldn't help feeling a chill. The corners of his mouth began to twitch uncontrollably. You white zetsu are the ones who know how to have fun. He was speechless at the white zetsu's behavior. At this time, black zetsu saw Afe appear on the screen and was immediately furious. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Boss, where are they exactly now?" Xiao quickly checked the coordinates and replied, "It's near a fruit forest north of the Fire Country border." "Thanks, boss. I will never let them go." Black Zetsu roared. Seeing Black Zetsu's angry look, Xiao patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "Black Zetsu, your vision is still too small." Pattern. Black Zetsu was confused and didn't know what the word meant. Xiao clenched her fist and then released it, "You need to be open-minded. Think about it, if someone who betrayed you can get more than 2 billion, then those who are loyal to you in the future will be able to get tens of billions. Understand the applause." Black Zetsu was still confused and asked doubtfully, "Boss, I don't understand what you are talking about." Xiao sighed helplessly and explained patiently, "Although Afe took more than 2 billion from you, you can't kill it, because a living Afe is more valuable than a dead one. You can let them form an intelligence organization, use the ability of White Zetsu to obtain various intelligence, and then sell the collected intelligence to those who need it at a high price. In this way, you can not only recover your costs, but also make tens of billions or even more wealth." "I understand the applause," Xiao said with a confident smile on his face. At this moment, Xiao looked like the master of success speeches in his previous life. "Pa pa pa." Black Zetsu's eyes suddenly lit up after hearing this, and he clapped his hands excitedly. Now, after Xiao's reminder, he realized that there was such a shortcut to make money. Although White Zetsu's combat power is not strong, it is indeed very suitable for obtaining intelligence. And this way, he would have another source of income and could make more money. I believe that it won't be long before he can earn 40 billion and resurrect his mother. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu looked at Xiao with gratitude, and quickly bowed and said, "Thank you, boss, for telling me this way to make money." Xiao smiled and patted his shoulder, "You're welcome. As long as you keep working hard, I believe you will be able to revive your mother soon." Hearing this, Black Zetsu nodded firmly, "I will work hard to make money." "Okay, let's get to work," Xiao encouraged. "Okay, boss, I'll go make money first," Black Zetsu said excitedly, and then hurriedly left the store. He couldn't wait to find Afe and the others and let them carry out intelligence work. After Black Zetsu left, Xiao showed a relieved smile on his face. Black Zetsu's attitude is very good. As long as he keeps making money and customers come to his place to spend money, Xiao can get more commission. Chapter 42. A fruit forest somewhere in the land of fire. You should eat more fruits so that you can defecate enough, Afe said as he grabbed a handful of fruits and stuffed them into his mouth. "I understand, Master Afei," the White Zetsu echoed in unison. After receiving Afei's instructions, they immediately took action. The White Zetsu climbed up the fruit trees and picked the fruits and put them in their mouths. Even though most of the fruits on the tree are not ripe yet, they don't mind. After all, as long as you can poop big enough, it's all worth it. "That's it, eat more," Afe shouted excitedly. Seeing the White Zetsu being so obedient, he felt very satisfied. At this moment, Afe suddenly covered his stomach with a painful expression on his face. Then, a strange feeling came from deep inside his body, and Afe was immediately ecstatic. "Haha, the urge to defecate has finally come, I must poop the most perfect shit this time." However, there was a lot of noise around at this time, which made Afe a little upset. It felt that it needed a quiet environment to concentrate so that it could defecate perfectly. So, Afe covered his stomach and quickly ran to the bushes nearby. "Perfect poop, here I come," Afe said to himself, looking forward to the crucial moment that was about to come. At this moment, it was extremely excited, as if it had already seen the perfect piece of feces appear before its eyes. It squatted on the ground with a frown on its face, as if it was planning something. Underground. This should be it. Black Zetsu stopped on his way and looked not far away. There was a fruit forest there. If he remembered correctly, this was the place Xiao was talking about. Black Zetsu decided to sneak up to the ground and see if it was the orchard where Afei and the others were hiding. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, Black Zetsu carefully poked his head out of the ground. However, when he just poked his head out of the ground, he was surprised to find a white object facing his face. Black Zetsu was confused for a moment, having no idea what this was. So, he subconsciously looked closely, trying to see clearly what the white object was. Why does this look so much like a butt? Black Zetsu muttered to himself, full of confusion. Suddenly, he reacted, his eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, "FK, this is really a butt." It turned out that the white object was actually someone's buttocks, and this person was squatting on the ground with his back to Black Zetsu. Before he could retract his head, he heard a loud crackling sound, and a pile of white excrement suddenly poured down, spraying directly on Black Zetsu's face. "Hey, so comfortable." Afei let out a long sigh, then he turned his head excitedly, wanting to see his masterpiece. When it turned around, it was surprised to find a black head on its poop. Afei was so scared that his face turned pale, which made his already white face even paler. "Isn't it eating fruit? Why is there a head sticking out?" It covered its mouth and exclaimed, "Oh my god, I pulled out a head." Hearing Afei's exclamation, the other white Zetsu gathered around curiously, looking at the head on the ground carefully. "Master Afei, you are truly amazing," exclaimed a white Zetsu. "How did Lord Afei poop out this black and white feces?" another white Zetsu asked curiously. "Do you think this piece of shit looks a lot like Lord Black Zetsu?" Suddenly, a white Zetsu put forward a surprising idea, which made the other white Zetsu stunned. Hearing this, the white Zetsu began to carefully examine the black and white excrement on the ground. Their eyes were focused and serious, as if they were studying a precious work of art. "You know what, they're exactly the same," exclaimed a white Zetsu. It used its hand to make a circle the size of its head. It thought this size was the same as Lord Black Zetsu's head. It actually bounces back. Another white Zetsu curiously poked the black Zetsu on the ground with his hand and felt a strange elasticity. However, as time went on, the white Zetsu's expressions gradually changed from curiosity to shock, and finally to fear. They suddenly realized that something was wrong. The shit on the ground might not be ordinary shit, but real Black Zetsu. After a while, Black Zetsu made a sharp explosion. "Ah! Afei, I'm going to kill you." His voice was full of anger, which made people shudder. But Black Zetsu did not go looking for trouble with Afei right away, but jumped into the river nearby. "Ah! It's really Lord Black Zetsu!" Afei screamed while holding his head, and ran quickly while screaming. Afei knew that if he fell into the hands of Black Zetsu, he would die miserably, so he chose to run away without any hesitation. The white Zetsu were in a state of panic when they saw this. "What should we do? What should we do? Sir Black Zetsu is actually chasing us." Afei, who had already run 2 miles, heard the exclamations of the white Zetsu behind him and turned back. He shouted, "Oi, you bastards, what are you still standing there for? Run now!" Hearing this, the white Zetsu finally reacted, "Yeah, it's too late if we don't run now." Just as they were about to move, Black Zetsu's cold voice sounded from behind them. "Where are you going to run to?" The creepy voice of Black Zetsu made the white Zetsu freeze in their places instantly, and cold sweats broke out all over their bodies. It's over, we're completely finished now." The white Zetsu turned around trembling and looked at the Black Zetsu with a gloomy face behind them. "Master Black Zetsu, we are just passing by." A white Zetsu explained tremblingly. Black Zetsu ignored it and stared at Afei at the back. The white Zetsu all moved aside, leaving Afei completely exposed to Black Zetsu's sight. Seeing this, Afei laughed awkwardly and said, "Ahaha, Lord Black Zetsu, long time no see. Where have you been making money lately?" Black Zetsu said nothing, his eyes still fixed on Afei. Afei broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that Lord Black Zetsu knew that I had embezzled public funds? That's impossible. I did it so secretly, no one should have noticed. But looking at Black Zetsu's expression now, it seems like he really knows. What should I do? Should I admit it? No, if I admit it, Lord Black Zetsu will definitely punish me. Ah Fei was very conflicted, but in the end he made up his mind that he would never admit it, so he said innocently, Master Black Zetsu, what happened? Black Zetsu remained silent, but his eyes became colder. Ah Fei's legs were shaking, he knew that Black Zetsu must know that he had embezzled public funds. Is Lord Black Zetsu going to punish me here? Thinking of this, Ah Fei's face turned extremely pale. At this moment, the surrounding white Zetsus suddenly knelt down towards Black Zetsu and shouted in unison, Master Black Zetsu, please make the decision for us. Chapter 43 Black Zetsu, Hooligan. The two looked at the group of white Zetsu kneeling on the ground in confusion, not knowing what was going on. Wivu, Lord Black Zetsu, your money was taken by Ah Fei, it's none of our business. Lord Black Zetsu, we are your most loyal subordinates, please don't kill us. That's right, Lord Black Zetsu. This is all because of that traitor Ah Fei. He was the one who instigated everyone to betray you. Hearing this, Ah Fei looked at the white Zetsu kneeling on the ground with great sorrow. His body was trembling slightly, and his outstretched fingers were shaking constantly. He pointed at them and said, You bastards, you actually sold out your master for glory. It really didn't expect that these white Zetsu, who always humbly asked it how to poop perfectly, would betray it at such a critical moment. Hearing Ah Fei's words, the white Zetsu all lowered their heads and buried them deep in the ground, not daring to look up at Ah Fei. Ah Fei sighed deeply, slowly closed his eyes, a bitter smile appeared on his face, and then he said in a heroic tone, Forget it, even though I die today. I am still the creator of perfect shit. After saying this, Ah Fei stopped talking and stood quietly waiting for death to come. Hearing what Ah Fei said, the eyes of the white Zetsu kneeling on the ground turned red and tears welled up in their eyes. They couldn't help but recall the good times when they pooped together with Ah Fei, and their hearts were filled with reluctance and sadness. However, they knew they had to survive, so they had no choice but to betray Ah Fei. Although they were very painful, it was also a helpless move. Ah Fei is indeed a good leader, but now he is about to die. We respectfully send off Lord Ah Fei, the white Zetsu shouted in unison. Black Zetsu's mouth twitched when he saw this. Is there something weird sneaking in? Who said I was going to kill you? At this moment, the voice of Black Zetsu rang in the ears of the white Zetsu. The white Zetsu looked at the Black Zetsu with joy, Master Black Zetsu, you really won't kill us. Black Zetsu nodded. Even though you bastards stole 2.6 billion from me, I'm still willing to give you a chance to make amends. Hearing this, Ah Fei, who was originally prepared to die calmly, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Black Zetsu in disbelief. It didn't expect that even though they had done something so outrageous, Lord Black Zetsu would still be willing to give them another chance. Thump Ah Fei immediately knelt on the ground, kowtowed to Black Zetsu frantically, and cried bitterly, Wivu, Lord Black Zetsu, I was wrong, I shouldn't have embezzled public funds. I just want to know what it feels like to defecate. The white Zetsu looked at Ah Fei with complicated expressions. If Ah Fei was the only one who secretly took the money to transform his body, then even if the Black Zetsu knew about it, he might not blame him too much. However, Ah Fei did not choose to hide this secret, but told it to everyone, and wanted everyone to experience the joy of eating together, and finally spent all the money of Lord Black Zetsu. Not long ago, when Lord Black Zetsu suddenly showed up and they were so frightened that they stood there at a loss as to what to do, it was Ah Fei who had already left who risked being caught and chose to turn back to remind them to run away quickly. If Ah Fei hadn't come back just now, it would definitely have been able to escape successfully. Although Ah Fei often seems unserious as a leader, and is even keen on studying strange things like feces, everyone can find fun in it. He is undoubtedly an excellent leader. However, they were ungrateful to their leader Ah Fei because they were afraid of death. Looking back on it now, it is really shameful. A white Zetsu suddenly slapped himself hard and said to himself, We are simply not human. At this time, another white Zetsu responded softly, Have you forgotten? We are not human beings. These words were like a sharp sword, deeply piercing the hearts of all white Zetsu. Black Zetsu looked indifferently at the group of white Zetsu kneeling on the ground and said calmly, Okay, everyone, get up. I have decided to give you a chance to make amends. Hearing this, the white Zetsu stood up with a sense of relief. They looked at the Black Zetsu with tears of gratitude, looking forward to a new beginning. Black Zetsu then explained his plan in detail to the White Zetsu. He hoped to build a powerful intelligence organization and make a fortune by selling this intelligence. He believes that as long as the White Zetsu work hard, they will be able to achieve great success. Black Zetsu promised that if the intelligence was sold successfully, each White Zetsu would receive 1/10 of the value of the intelligence sold as a reward. Black Zetsu knows that if you want a horse to run fast, you must give it enough fodder. If there is no incentive mechanism, they may choose to run away with the money like last time, and he will have no place to cry when the time comes. Therefore, he proposed this attractive reward plan to motivate the White Zetsu. As expected, the White Zetsu's faces flushed with excitement after hearing the Black Zetsu's goals and promises. They shouted in unison, "We will complete the mission." After all, this time Black Zetsu not only forgave them for their embezzlement, but also gave them a brand new opportunity. Moreover, they can also set up their own intelligence organization, and each transaction will have a generous commission, which undoubtedly makes them very excited. The White Zetsu's eyes sparkled with greed, and their hearts were filled with longing for the future. They were eager to prove their abilities and win the trust and recognition of the Black Zetsu again. All of this depends on whether they can successfully establish a strong intelligence network and realize Black Zetsu's expectations. Okay, you guys hurry up and collect information. Don't let me down again this time. Black Zetsu said and looked at Afei. Seeing this, Afei quickly assured, "We will never let down Lord Black Zetsu's trust." White Zetsu quickly spread out and began to collect intelligence from all over the ninja world. The White Zetsu collect all kinds of information. They even record in detail how many piglets a villager's sow has given birth to. What if someone is really curious about this? As a result, White Zetsu can be seen everywhere in the ninja world. Konoha Village, Hokage Building. The third Hokage was staring intently at the scene in the crystal ball, drooling. He didn't notice at all that there was a White Zetsu behind him silently writing something with a pen. The third Hokage spied on the women's bathhouse. I wonder how much this information is worth. Who? The third Hokage suddenly looked back, but didn't see anyone. It seems that I am too suspicious. The third Hokage turned his attention to the crystal ball again. He, this is so cool. That was a close call. We were almost discovered. Outside the Hokage building, the White Zetsu muttered. Similar things are happening all over the ninja world. P.S. I'm quite busy today, so the update will be late. As compensation, I've decided to update 3 times tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Readers who like the update can enjoy free small gifts. Chapter 44. Inside the secret base. There was a thick stack of information in front of Black Zetsu. These were the intelligence about the ninja world that White Zetsu and his team had spent a lot of time and energy collecting yesterday. He opened the first page and saw the words written on it. An old sow gave birth to 21 piglets in the middle of the night. Both mother and children are safe. Black Zetsu's mouth twitched slightly, wondering what kind of weird information this was. He continued to flip to the next page, but what he saw was, Widow Wang from the next village has been secretly in love with Zhang Meizi from the same village for a long time, and she plans to force herself on him tonight. Black Zetsu couldn't help but swear, damn. Can this be considered intelligence? He shook his head and continued to look through the intelligence at the back. In the land of water, a group of old sows lined up to jump into the ditch. In the land of wind, the third son of 4th Kazekage Raza is being bullied by the villagers. Black Zetsu looked at the information in his hand, his face was full of black lines, and he cursed, FK, why do these guys collect all kinds of messed up information? He only read 4 pieces of intelligence in total, 3 of which were worthless garbage information. The only somewhat useful information was the news that the 4th Kazekage's son was being bullied, but it was actually of little use. After all, who would be willing to spend money to buy such boring information? Black Zetsu felt a headache and began to doubt whether his decision to let White Zetsu establish an intelligence organization was correct. If this continues, not only will they fail to obtain valuable intelligence, but they may also waste a lot of time and resources. However, Black Zetsu was still a little curious, why would a group of old sows line up to jump into the ditch? Is it because the weather is too hot? These sows can't stand the heat, so they go to the ditch to take a bath? After Black Zetsu came back to his senses, he immediately shook his head, throwing away the strange thoughts in his mind, and continued to look through the information in his hand. When Black Zetsu saw the latter piece of information, his eyes widened in shock and he suddenly exclaimed, FK, I didn't expect the third Hokage to have such a fetish. Black Zetsu's heart was filled with shock and disbelief. He could never have imagined that the third Hokage, who was known as the Professor of Ninjutsu, would do such a thing. However, Black Zetsu did not stop there, but continued reading with even more excitement. I never thought that the Hokage, who seems so glamorous on the surface, has such a dark side behind the scenes. This discovery made Black Zetsu sigh that the third Hokage's behavior was so shameless that even he was shocked. You can't judge a person by his appearance. Black Zetsu muttered to himself. But Black Zetsu seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly put his hands on his hips and laughed up to the sky, ha ha ha. His laughter echoed throughout the base, and after a long time Black Zetsu finally stopped. He rubbed his hands excitedly, his eyes sparkling with excitement. He, you didn't expect that I caught you, did you? Black Zetsu said to himself. He had already made up his mind that he must use this as evidence to blackmail him and get 300 or 500 million yuan from him. If Sarutobi Hiruzen disagrees, Black Zetsu will spread this information to the ninja world. Then where will Sarutobi Hiruzen put his face? Thinking of this, he couldn't wait to leave the base and ran towards Konoha village. The information floated in the air and finally fell slowly to the ground. It only says, Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was observing the women's bathhouse through a crystal ball in his office. When he saw the exciting scenes, his nose was bleeding profusely. After hearing the noise outside, he was able to cut off the image in the crystal ball at an extremely fast speed. Judging from the proficiency of his movements, he is definitely a repeat offender. This intelligence details the perverted behavior of Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, causing Black Zetsu to completely change his impression of him. Black Zetsu has made up his mind to take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. Only now did he understand the benefits of establishing an intelligence organization. Not only could they sell intelligence to those who needed it, they could also use the intelligence to threaten the parties involved and then profit from it. The boss is worthy of being the boss, he has a good business mind. Black Zetsu praised. Only now did he realize how terrifying Yun Xiao was. At that time, he had only given him a few seemingly casual pointers, but he had been able to benefit from it. Black Zetsu became even more respectful to Yun Xiao in his heart. Konoha village, Hokage building. This one is too small, not good. This one is a bit old and is starting to sag. Sarutobi Hiruzen commented as he looked at the picture in the crystal ball. Suddenly, he seemed to have discovered something extraordinary, and he put his face directly to the crystal ball. After a long time, he gestured in the air with his hands, with a lewd smile on his face, he, this is so big, if I can touch it, I will die without regrets. As he watched, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt his nose getting wet. He subconsciously touched it with his hand and saw that his fingers were covered in blood. Nosebleed again? I guess I need to be more restrained during this period. As he said this, he began to search for napkins in the office, but his eyes never left the crystal ball. Black Zetsu, who had just arrived at the Hokage's office, was completely dumbfounded when he saw this scene. It turned out that Sarutobi Hiruzen's shamelessness was even more serious than he had imagined. He was just about to come out from the dark to talk to Sarutobi Hiruzen about this matter, but he suddenly heard footsteps outside the door. Black Zetsu knew that someone was coming, so he gave up the idea of coming out and decided to observe in secret. Bang! The door to the Hokage's office was flung open, and a man with a bandage on his left eye walked in. This man was none other than the Hokage's strongest scapegoat, Shimura Dance. There are thousands of scapegoats in Konoha, and Shimura Dance takes most of them. Danzo can be said to be the root of all evil. Danzo is usually blamed for any tragedy related to Konoha, because he has done so many bad things that whenever something cannot be explained, the blame can be put on Danzo. In Hokage, if there is a jutsu that no one knows who created it, it must have been created by Senju Tobirama. If there is a tragedy that no one knows who caused it, it must have been caused by Danzo. After all, looking at the history of Hokage, Konoha's White Fang committed suicide, Nagato turned evil, Hanzo betrayed, Minato and his wife died in battle, Orochimaru defected, Shisui fell off a cliff, Uchiha was exterminated, Yakushi Kabuto got lost. All of these things are to blame for Shimura Dance. He will be the 5.5th generation pot cage of Konoha in the future, but everyone must not treat the pot cage as a cage. After all, the fourth Hokage sealed Nine Tails with his life, the third generation sealed Snake Hand with his life, and the 5.5th generation Nabe Cage sealed a bridge with his life in the future. Of course, these are all stories for later, P.S. there will be 2 more later. Chapter 45. Inside the Hokage's office, Shimura-dan suddenly rushed in, which made Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was looking for a napkin, unable to react for a moment. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the crystal ball. "Hey, are you blushing? Let me see how you've grown." "No, you're so annoying." Hearing the sound, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally reacted. He ignored his nosebleed and hurriedly turned off the crystal ball. Shimura-dan looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a dark face. He didn't expect that after so many years, the other party's habit of peeping has not changed. "Ahem, Danzo, be sure to knock on the door next time you come in," Sarutobi Hiruzen said, covering his nose with his hand. Shimura-dan never knocked when entering the Hokage's office, he always just pushed the door open and came in. Sarutobi Hiruzen had reprimanded him for this many times before. But Danzo always said yes but never changed his mind. This time, it was because he didn't knock on the door that made me so embarrassed. In the shadows, Black Zetsu muttered, "Didn't the intelligence say that the third Hokage reacted quickly? Shimura-dan has been here for quite some time, and he didn't even think of cutting the scene off. Is he too engrossed?" Shimura-dan ignored Sarutobi Hiruzen's words and said with a gloomy expression, "Hiruzen, the root has found that the Uchiha have shown signs of rebellion." Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked. He stood up suddenly and said in disbelief, "Danzo, are you telling the truth?" Although his old friend usually did a lot of bad things, he felt that the other party would not deceive him on matters concerning the interests of the village, because Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that his old friend loved the village as much as he did. Shimura-dan nodded and said, "In the past, the radical factions in the Uchiha clan have expressed their desire to launch a coup many times, but they were all stopped by the Uchiha Fugaku. However, there are more and more radical factions in the clan recently, and now the Uchiha Fugaku has begun to waver." After hearing Shimura-dan's explanation, Sarutobi Hiruzen silently picked up the pipe on the table, put it in his mouth, lit it, took a deep breath, and then slowly exhaled a smoke ring. Amid the smoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen fell into deep thought. The Uchiha clan, once one of the strongest families in Konoha village, possesses powerful Ijutsu powers. However, as time went on, the relationship between them and the village gradually became strained. Now, the news brought by Danzo makes Sarutobi Hiruzen even more worried. If the Uchiha clan really decides to rebel, it will bring great crisis to the village. Their strength should not be underestimated. If a conflict breaks out, it will cause a lot of casualties and destruction to the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen knew this very well, so he had to handle the matter carefully. He couldn't easily believe Danzo's one-sided words, but he couldn't ignore this potential threat either. At this time, the Uchiha had indeed shown signs of rebellion. Due to historical reasons such as Uchiha Madara's defection, suspicion of the Nine Tails Rebellion, and the Uchiha people's dissatisfaction with the family's status in the village, the Uchiha clan wanted to launch a coup to change this situation. He took a deep breath, took the pipe from his mouth, looked at Danzo and said, "I will investigate this matter myself." Shimura-dan frowned, "Hiruzen, the Uchiha clan's rebellious heart can no longer be contained. We should take action immediately and destroy them." Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, "No, this will cause even more chaos, and there are still many innocent people in the Uchiha clan. We need to find a more appropriate solution." Upon hearing this, Shimura-dan said in dissatisfaction, "Uchiha has already had the idea of rebellion, why not just suppress them with thunder and lightning?" Shimura-dan believes that we should not be afraid of thieves stealing, but we should be afraid of thieves thinking about it. If Uchiha is thinking about rebellion, but pretends nothing happened on the surface, this is the most terrifying thing, because you have no idea when the other party will suddenly launch a coup. Sarutobi Hiruzen took another deep puff from his pipe, exhaled a smoke ring, and then spoke, "Isn't Uchiha still plotting rebellion? There is definitely a chance for this to turn around." When Shimura-dan heard this, he was so angry that he trembled all over, and veins popped out of his body. He pointed at Sarutobi Hiruzen angrily and shouted, "You idiot, if you tell Uchiha about this, won't that alert the enemy? What if Uchiha launches a coup?" He really couldn't understand Sarutobi Hiruzen's train of thought. He knew clearly that Uchiha had already shown signs of rebellion, but he didn't want to suppress it directly. Instead, he wanted to reconcile with the other party. Shimura-dan became angrier and angrier. He slammed the table and stood up, continuing to yell at Sarutobi Hiruzen, "Are you getting old and confused? Do you think Uchiha will be grateful to you? They will only think you are weak and incompetent and easy to bully. What you do will only make them more arrogant and domineering, thinking that we are afraid of them. Shimura Dance was suddenly so angry that he laughed. He looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a mocking expression and sneered, "Haha, you are playing mercy with me now? Do you know why Uchiha wants to rebel? Because they have a problem with your decision and want to remove you from the position of Hokage, so that they can be the Hokage themselves. Can't you even see that?" Sarutobi Hiruzen was scolded by Shimura Dance. Even though he usually had a good temper, he was a little angry at this moment. Bang! He suddenly slammed his desk and yelled, "That's enough Danzo, I'm the Hokage." Sarutobi Hiruzen's words made Shimura Dance suddenly stunned, and his thoughts could not help but go back to the past. He had wanted to go when the second Hokage had wanted someone to act as bait to hold the enemy back, but he hesitated due to his fear of death, and ended up being beaten to it by Sarutobi Hiruzen. He felt somewhat relieved at the time, because if someone had stood up, he wouldn't have to sacrifice himself. However, he did not expect that this would be a test for the second Hokage, as he wanted to find a dedicated person to serve as Hokage. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen took the lead, the second Hokage appointed him as the next Hokage, and the second Hokage chose himself as bait to cover their retreat, and eventually sacrificed himself. Over the years, Shimura Dance has regretted every time he thought about this matter. If he had been more determined at the beginning, perhaps the position of Hokage would have been his. Thinking back to the present, Shimura Dance saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's angry look and snorted, "Since you are so indecisive as the Hokage, let me deal with the Uchiha myself." Having said that, Shimura Dance threw up his sleeves and turned away angrily. Sarutobi Hiruzen held his pipe in his mouth, silently watching Shimura Dance's back as he left. I don't know what he was thinking. Chapter 46. After a long time, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly sighed, then slowly sat down on the chair, smoking one cigarette after another. At this time, in the dark, Black Zetsu had a look of great joy on his face, thinking to himself, "Oh my goodness, Uchiha actually wanted to rebel, but he didn't expect that Shimura Dance knew about it in advance. Why did Danzo know this in advance? This is undoubtedly because there was a traitor among the Uchiha clan members who secretly informed Shimura Dance of this." Black Zetsu originally just wanted to blackmail Sarutobi Hiruzen, but he unexpectedly got something unexpected. He thought that if he could find the traitor of the Uchiha clan and sell this information to Uchiha Fugaku at a high price, the other party would definitely buy this information. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu's mouth curled up slightly, and he said with emotion, "Actually, I also have a good business mind, hehe." "Who's there? Come out." Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly heard the voice, looked in the direction of Black Zetsu with a sharp gaze, and shouted coldly. Black Zetsu then realized that he had accidentally exposed himself because of his complacency. So, he slowly emerged from the wall, with a smile on his face, and said, "Hey, don't be nervous, Hokage-sama. I'm here to discuss a business deal with you." Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked to see a dark humanoid creature actually coming out of the wall of his office. He subconsciously took 2 steps back, looking at Black Zetsu with a vigilant face, and put his hands behind his back so that he could immediately form hand seals and launch ninjutsu if the situation went wrong. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen's nervous look, Black Zetsu said cheerfully, "Don't be nervous, Hokage-sama, I really want to discuss a business with you." As he said that, Black Zetsu took out a green stone and placed it on his palm. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the stone in Black Zetsu's hand with confusion on his face, not knowing what it was. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen's puzzled look, Black Zetsu explained, "This is a recording stone. It can project everything that happens here within 3 days." When Black Zetsu learned of Sarutobi Hiruzen's secret, he was worried that if he went to Sarutobi Hiruzen directly, he might deny it even if he was beaten to death, so he went to Xiao and bought a photo stone at a high price. Black Zetsu's mind moved, and a faint light suddenly appeared on the stone, and then a light curtain appeared above the stone. "This one is too small, not good. This one is a bit old and is starting to sag. Hehehe, this is so big. If I could touch it, I would die without regrets." Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the screen in shock. The picture showed the scene of him peeping into the women's bathhouse before. What made him even more terrified was that not only was his obscene appearance recorded in the picture, but the contents of the crystal ball were also recorded in great clarity. After Sarutobi Hiruzen reacted, his face became extremely gloomy, his body began to tremble, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. If this video gets out, he, as the third Hokage of Konoha village, will lose face and his life will be completely ruined. Sarutobi Hiruzen has always been seen by outsiders as a kind, benevolent Hokage. But now, he has been exposed for secretly using a crystal ball to spy on the women's bathhouse, which is undoubtedly a huge blow to his image. Once this news spreads, the image he has built up all his life will be destroyed. Black Zetsu looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's panicked look, feeling secretly proud. He knew that as long as he could frighten Sarutobi Hiruzen, he could take the opportunity to make higher demands and blackmail him. Black Zetsu said cheerfully, "Hey, I wonder if the Hokage is interested in this business." Sarutobi Hiruzen silently calculated the distance between himself and Black Zetsu, wondering if he could suddenly strike and kill the other party. Black Zetsu naturally felt Sarutobi Hiruzen's cold murderous intent. He quickly stepped back, still smiling, and said, "It seems that the Hokage wants to silence me. However, as long as I crush this image stone, this image will appear in the sky above the entire ninja world, and you may not be able to kill me." Black Zetsu was extremely confident when he said this, because although he was not strong, his ability was extremely special. As long as he wanted to run, no one in the entire ninja world could stop him. Sarutobi Hiruzen fell silent when he saw Black Zetsu's confident look. He knew that what Black Zetsu said was probably true, and after a while, he spoke in a hoarse voice, "What do you want?" "Give me 1 billion and this photo stone will be yours," Black Zetsu said with a smile. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Black Zetsu with eyes widened in disbelief. A big thief appeared in Konoha village before, and all the funds in the village were stolen. They can't come up with so much money. Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen could come up with 1 billion, he would never agree to it. Black Zetsu certainly knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't have that much money. After all, he was the one who stole the money from Konoha village. How could he not know whether the other party could take it or not? He just wanted to test Sarutobi Hiruzen's reaction. 800 million, said Black Zetsu. Sarutobi Hiruzen still shook his head in denial. 500 million. Sarutobi Hiruzen still shook his head in denial. Black Zetsu then realized that Sarutobi Hiruzen was maliciously lowering the price, and even if he had the money, he would not be willing to pay so much. He felt like he was being fooled, so he suddenly sneered, "Hokage-sama, you don't want to be discovered peeping into the women's bathhouse, do you?" As he said that, Black Zetsu picked up the image stone and waved it in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. Why didn't Black Zetsu continue to lower the price? He was thinking of lowering the price to 100 million or 200 million before reluctantly agreeing to it. This will save you a ton of money. But now Black Zetsu seemed to see through his little thoughts. He was about to explain but was interrupted by Black Zetsu. "Okay, if you don't want to lose your reputation in your later years, I don't care what method you use, you have to raise 800 million for me within 3 days. Otherwise, everyone in the ninja world will know about your deeds of peeping into the women's bathhouse." With that, Black Zetsu didn't even look at Sarutobi Hiruzen again before diving underground and leaving. Sarutobi Hiruzen was left alone in the office, his face showing a complicated expression that turned pale and blue. After a long time, Sarutobi Hiruzen left the office in a hurry. After Sarutobi Hiruzen left, Black Zetsu poked his head out of the ground. "Hehe, this method of the boss is still effective." Xiao had told him before that if you have the strength to overturn the table, you must be strong, otherwise those weak people will take advantage of you. Look, after he left after making these harsh words, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was originally arguing with him, went out happily to collect the money, didn't he? Black Zetsu's guess was correct. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen did go out to collect money. He felt that compared to 800 million, his own reputation was more important. After all, as the third Hokage, his reputation and prestige are of vital importance. Once the fact that he peeped into the women's bathhouse is exposed, he will face enormous public pressure and moral condemnation, which is a result that he does not want to see at all. Therefore, even if it costs a huge price, he must solve this problem as soon as possible. Chapter 47. The Sarutobi Clan. Sarutobi Hiruzen walked into the clan territory in a hurry. "Chief, why are you back?" a member of the Sarutobi clan asked curiously. In addition to being the Hokage of Konoha village, Sarutobi Hiruzen is also the head of the Sarutobi clan. At this time in the past, the clan leader would still be handling government affairs in the Hokage's office, but today, for some reason, he came back in a hurry with a look on his face. "Hurry up and notify the elders to come to my house for a meeting," Sarutobi Hiruzen said anxiously. Got it, clan leader. After hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, he immediately slipped away. Although he was very curious about what had happened, he knew that this was not something he could know. The residence of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in the chair with a serious expression, his brows furrowed, his eyes slightly closed, his heart filled with anxiety and uneasiness. He was thinking about how to get 800 million in 3 days to return it to Black Zetsu. Just then, a slight sound of footsteps was heard, the door slowly opened, and an old man with grey hair and a serious face walked in. The person who came was the great elder of the Sarutobi clan and one of the important figures in the clan. The great elder noticed something was wrong with Sarutobi Hiruzen and asked with concern, "Hiruzen, what happened that made you come to us so anxiously?" Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head slightly, his eyes bloodshot, and said in a hoarse voice, "Grand Elder, let's talk about it after the other elders arrive." After saying that, he sighed softly and continued to fall into deep thought. The great elder frowned upon seeing this. He knew Sarutobi Hiruzen's character very well, and if he hadn't encountered a major problem, he would never have called them together in such a hurry. Thinking of this, the elder's heart tightened. Could it be that something happened in the village? Or was there some thorny problem within the family? Time passed by, and finally, the remaining elders walked into the room one after another. When they saw the solemn expression on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, they all had an ominous premonition in their hearts. The Sarutobi clan has a total of 4 elders, each of whom is a wise man with rich experience. At this moment, the 4 of them gathered together, and their eyes fell on Sarutobi Hiruzen at the same time, waiting for him to speak. The great elder could no longer suppress his anxiety and asked impatiently, "Hiruzen, what happened?" Hearing this, the other elders all looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen curiously, wanting to hear his explanation. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his cigarette and said with a complicated expression, "Someone caught me and threatened me to give him 800 million, otherwise he would reveal this matter." Hearing this, the elder's eyes widened, and he slammed the table, shouting angrily, "What evidence does he have to ask for 800 million? This guy is asking for too much." The second elder was also so angry that his face turned red, and he echoed, "That's right, I think that guy just thinks that our Sarutobi clan is easy to bully." The third elder also clenched his fists and gritted his teeth and said, "We absolutely cannot give this money." Hearing the elder's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen lowered his head in shame and whispered, "Actually, I was discovered peeping into the women's bathhouse, and the evidence was recorded." Upon hearing the news, the originally angry elders were stunned, and the expressions on their faces instantly froze. They couldn't believe what they heard, and they all stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with wide eyes in disbelief. The great elder's angry expression gradually turned into disappointment. He sighed heavily, "Hiruzen, you are confused. How could you do such a thing?" The second elder shook his head and sighed, saying with great sorrow, "As a Hokage, you actually did such a thing. How will the people in the village view our Sarutobi clan?" The third elder even stood up and pointed at Sarutobi Hiruzen and shouted angrily, "A hole! Do you know what you are doing? Not only will your personal reputation be affected by this, but it will also damage the image of the entire family." They really couldn't understand why Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was already in his 60s, still had a voyeuristic habit. Did this mean that a man remained a boy until he died? Hearing what the elders said, Sarutobi Hiruzen lowered his head in shame and didn't dare to look at them. At this moment, the fourth elder, who had been silent since entering the room, spoke. "Okay, stop talking. The most urgent thing is to quickly discuss a solution. The fourth brother is right. Let's think about what to do now," said the great elder. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the fourth elder with gratitude. "Can we find a chance to kill that guy?" The fourth elder glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen indifferently. The eyes of the other elders lit up. "Yes, wouldn't it be better if we just killed the blackmailer? This way, we can solve the problem without paying any money." "Fourth brother, you really are a genius," the great elder said excitedly. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head with a wry smile. He had thought about doing this when he was in the office, but the other party's mysterious abilities and confident words made him realize that it would be difficult for him to kill the other party. Even if he could be killed, it would take a long time, and during this time Black Zetsu would have already made the matter public. It should be difficult to kill. Sarutobi Hiruzen told the elders what happened in the office. After hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's explanation, the elders were silent, and no one spoke for a while. After a long while, the elder said with a complicated expression, it seems that we can only pay the money obediently, but where can the family come up with so much money? Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and said, you can take out as much as you can, and I'll find a way to pay the rest. To reduce the family's expenses in the next few years, we may be able to come up with 200 million yuan. The fourth elder said. I have a coffin book worth 10 million, Hiruzen, you can use it. Said the great elder. All my assets are only 5 million. The second elder whispered. If you mortgage all the properties under my name, you can get about 30 million taels, said the third elder. The fourth elder tapped the table with his hand and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. I have 20 million, all of which are given to you. You can figure out the rest yourself. Sarutobi Hiruzen bowed to the elders and thanked them for their help. Counting his own gains over the years, he could make up 300 million at most. The elder patted Sarutobi Hiruzen on the shoulder and said earnestly, Hiruzen, no matter what method you use, you must solve this matter. The future of the family depends on you. Sarutobi Hiruzen's position of Hokage is very important to the Sarutobi clan, because now is the critical period for the Sarutobi clan to be promoted to a major clan in Konoha, and there must not be any mistakes. When the Sarutobi clan first joined Konoha, it was just a small clan, but since Sarutobi Hiruzen became Hokage, the Sarutobi clan has begun to grow stronger and stronger, and now it is showing signs of becoming a major clan in Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, and suddenly his eyes lit up, knowing how to get the remaining 500 million. Chapter 48. Hyuga Tribe Land. Hyuga Hayashi knelt on the ground, poured a cup of tea and placed it in front of him. He said respectfully, I wonder what you are doing here, Hokage-sama. As the saying goes, one does not visit a temple without a request. He was very curious about what Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to see him about. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up the teacup and took a sip. He said with a kind smile on his face, Hayashi, I came to you this time because I do need your help with something. I wonder if you are willing to help me. Hyuga Hayashi became more and more curious. What kind of thing could be worth the third Hokage coming here in person? Your Excellency Hokage is too polite. I will do my best to help you as long as it is within my ability. Hyuga Hayashi replied with a smile. The Hyuga clan had been sending generous gifts and money to the third Hokage in recent years, so Hyuga Hayashi knew that the other party's request would never be too harsh. Hearing Hyuga Hayashi's affirmative answer, Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, Hayashi, can you pay the expenses for the next few years in advance? Hyuga Hayashi was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't believe his ears. The third Hokage actually asked him for money directly without any hesitation? Although he had been secretly contributing wealth to the third Hokage over the years, such things had always been done in private and never made public. However, now, the third Hokage actually brought the matter to the surface and dealt with him directly. After Hyuga Hayashi realized what was happening, he quickly smiled and said, the village was destroyed after the Nine Tails Rebellion. I, Hyuga Hayashi, am willing to donate 10 million ryo to rebuild Konoha. He had a flattering smile on his face, but his heart was bleeding. This 10 million taels was not a small amount for him now. Every year he pays 5 million ryo to third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen as a filial tribute, and after all these years he has almost achieved 2 small goals. This time, he felt very painful to donate so much money at once. If it were in the past, it would be fine. Although 10 million is a lot, his Hyuga family is wealthy and can still afford it. But some time ago, the Hyuga clan was attacked by thieves and most of the clan's assets were stolen. Now he has to come up with such a large sum of money, which makes him feel heartbroken. Although he was in great pain, he had no choice, because he knew that if the Hyuga clan wanted to gain a foothold in Konoha village, they had to maintain a good relationship with the Hokage. If they don't pay, they will follow in the footsteps of the Uchiha clan and be ostracized by the entire village. You should know that the Uchiha clan is one of the families that founded Konoha, but now they have been relocated to the edge of Konoha village and are being neglected and discriminated against. Although all this has something to do with the Uchiha's way of dealing with people, it is more because they did not choose to honor the third Hokage. This caused the third Hokage to be dissatisfied, and during the Third World War, he even sent the Uchiha clan, who were good at fire style, to the water country battlefield. Thinking back to the present, Hyuga Hayashi thought that his offering of 10 million was already very sincere and would definitely satisfy the third Hokage's appetite. However, what he never expected was that Sarutobi Hiruzen actually shook his head and said earnestly, Hayashi, I need money for the next 10 years, and you only gave me 2 years. Hearing this, Hayashi widened his eyes and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen in disbelief, with 1,000 curse words running through his mind. Is Sarutobi Hiruzen getting old and confused? How dare he make such an outrageous request? He actually wants to charge 10 years of fees at once? It is still unknown whether Sarutobi Hiruzen can live to that time. Why, you don't want to? Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes slightly, with a hint of threat in his eyes. Hayashi looked conflicted and asked cautiously, is 10 years too much? Don't you think I, an old man, will live to that day? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and knocked the table hard. I dare not, I dare not. It's just that our Hyuga clan does not have that much funds at the moment. Hayashi looked embarrassed and explained helplessly. What he said was true. Ever since the family was robbed by thieves, the Hyuga clan really couldn't come up with that much cash. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Hayashi in silence, with an elusive look in his eyes. Hayashi couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Didn't the third Hokage believe him? Hayashi quickly explained, Hokage-sama, it's not that I don't want to give it to you, but our family really doesn't have that much money. When I have it, I will definitely send it to you as soon as possible. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly, showing his understanding. Seeing this, Hayashi was delighted, thinking that the matter was over. However, the next moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen's words made his smile freeze on his face. Since there is no cash flow, then give me the Hyuga clan's several stores on the commercial street. It's decided. After saying that, Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up, turned around and left without hesitation, without paying any attention to Hayashi who was standing there. It was not until Sarutobi Hiruzen disappeared that Hayashi slowly recovered from his shock. He stared at the door with wide eyes in disbelief, as if he couldn't accept what had just happened. After a moment, he raised his hand angrily and smashed the table in front of him with one palm, gritting his teeth and saying, "How dare this old man? Does he really think that my Hyuga clan is easy to bully?" After Sarutobi Hiruzen left the Hyuga clan, he walked straight towards the direction of the Inoshika Ch clans without hesitation. Half an hour later, Sarutobi Hiruzen left the Inoshika Ch clans and then headed non-stop towards the other clans of Konoha. During this day, he worked tirelessly and visited almost every family, big and small, in Konoha village. Until late at night, he walked out of an inconspicuous small family with a happy face, muttering to himself, although this process is indeed a bit difficult, I finally got the money together. In the darkness, Black Zetsu sighed, I didn't expect that it only took 1 day for Sarutobi Hiruzen to collect 800 million. It seems that it was still too little in the beginning. But, will there really be no problems if this guy does this? Black Zetsu asked doubtfully. He witnessed with his own eyes the scene where after Sarutobi Hiruzen left, the patriarchs of those families gathered together to discuss countermeasures. Seeing the angry faces of those clan leaders, I'm afraid Sarutobi Hiruzen won't be able to sit on the position of Hokage safely any longer. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen was still immersed in the joy of collecting the money, not knowing that the clan leaders were already thinking about how to get him out of office. P.S. There will be another chapter later. Chapter 49. The residence of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Hiruzen, have you collected the money? The Great Elder asked nervously. Don't worry, the Great Elder has been dealt with. Sarutobi Hiruzen said happily. Hearing this, several elders looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in disbelief. They had not expected that Sarutobi Hiruzen could collect 500 million in just half a day. They had originally thought that if things really didn't work out, they would mortgage all of the clan's properties. Hiruzen, how did you do that? The other elders also looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen curiously, wanting to hear how he did it. It was simply incredible. Sarutobi Hiruzen told several elders what had happened. After hearing his explanation, the elders looked confused and said, your prestige in the village will be greatly reduced. It's better to lose prestige than to lose the position of Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. After hearing what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, the other elders remained silent. It was indeed true. As long as the position of Hokage remained, everything else could be discussed later. I'm a little tired. I'm going to rest first. Sarutobi Hiruzen said tiredly. That day, he was running around between the various families in Konoha village, exhausted both physically and mentally. When he walked into the room, lay down on the comfortable bed, and just closed his eyes, he heard a slight noise coming from inside the house. Who? Sarutobi Hiruzen opened his eyes alertly, sat up on the bed in an instant, and glanced around sharply. At this moment, a dark shadow slowly rose from the ground. He, Hokage-sama, there's no need to be so nervous, I'm here to get the money. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face turned very ugly. He never expected that Black Zetsu would come to him just after he raised the money. Obviously, he had been under the other party's close surveillance all day. He took out a scroll from his bosom and said solemnly, "The money is all in here. Give me the photo stone." However, Black Zetsu remained unmoved, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, sneering, "Give me the money first, and I will give you the photo stone, otherwise, forget it." He was not stupid, and knew that if he handed over the stone first, Sarutobi Hiruzen would probably regret it. After all, there was no trust between them. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression froze. He had indeed had this thought, but he didn't expect that Black Zetsu had noticed it. He could only throw the scroll over. After Black Zetsu checked it and found nothing wrong, he happily placed the photo stone on the ground. "Lord Hokage is so straightforward. I will come to you for business in the future." With that, Black Zetsu dived into the ground and left. Hearing Black Zetsu's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth twitched. It would be better not to ask him for this kind of business in the future. On the other side, the Hyuga tribe land. At this time, dozens of people gathered in the clan area, all of whom were the clan leaders of the major families in Konoha village. They looked solemn, and were obviously annoyed by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Damn, Sarutobi Hiruzen is really crazy because of poverty. Hyuga Hayashi cursed. That's right. He actually asked for a huge amount and directly asked me for 10 million taels. The patriarch of a small family slammed the table angrily. He even used coercion and inducement, another clan leader said, gritting his teeth. "Narashikaku, what do you think about this?" Hyuga Hayashi turned and asked the man next to him. Everyone turned their curious eyes to Narashikaku. After all, the Nara family was famous for its wisdom and was considered the smartest family in Konoha. The Inoshika-ch clans had always been supporters of Sarutobi Hiruzen, but Sarutobi Hiruzen's behavior today was too much, and it had made them rebel. "I think the third Hokage is too old and not suitable to continue to serve as Hokage," Narashikaku said softly. "Yes, now Konoha village needs a young and energetic leader who can lead the future to lead the village." Yamanaka Hai echoed. "So, what should we do?" asked Akamichi Choza. Narashikaku's eyes flashed with cunning, and he said with a smile, "Since the third Hokage is unkind, you can't blame us for being unjust." Then, Narashikaku explained his plan in detail to everyone. After listening, everyone nodded in agreement and praised the plan. "Haha, this is a good idea." Narashikaku suddenly remembered something important, and he remember to inform the Uchiha clan about this. They have been dissatisfied with the third Hokage for a long time, and their support is indispensable for this operation. Yet, how can we be without Uchiha for such an important matter? Afterwards, the group hurriedly left the Hyuga tribe's territory and headed towards the Uchiha tribe's territory. Land of the Uchiha tribe. When Uchiha Fugaku saw the clan leaders, his heart was shocked and he almost jumped up. He secretly complained in his heart, could it be that the third Hokage already knows about the Uchiha conspiracy to rebel? However, when he heard Hyuga Hayashi's explanation, the nervousness in his heart was instantly replaced by surprise. It turned out that these people came to discuss how to force the third Hokage to abdicate. Uchiha Fugaku's breathing became rapid and he could hardly believe his ears. Yesterday they were still discussing how to launch a coup. Unexpectedly, the patriarchs of these families actually came to him to discuss the matter. It's like sending a pillow when you are sleepy. In that case, my Uchiha clan is willing to fully support your plan. We must act as soon as possible and cannot delay any longer. Uchiha Fugaku said excitedly. The next day. Have you heard? The heads of all the major families in Konoha are now gathered outside the Hokage building, and they claim that they have something important to announce. Is it true? Then I have to go check it out right away. After learning the shocking news, the villagers and ninjas of Konoha village rushed to the Hokage building, wanting to know what had happened. The Hokage building was now surrounded by a crowd of people, who were standing in 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. They were all looking at the clan leaders above with curiosity, talking to each other, and guessing what was about to happen. Seeing that almost everyone had gathered, Narashikaku said to the clan leaders with a serious expression, it's almost time to start. Hyuga Hayashi walked forward with a serious expression, slowly took off the forehead protector on his forehead, and held it high in front of the crowd. There was a sudden silence at the scene, and everyone looked confused, wondering what the Hyuga clan leader was going to do. I, Hyuga Hayashi, report to the Fire Country Konoha Village 3rd Hokage for abusing his position and power for personal gain and frequently asking for high amounts of tribute from me. Just yesterday, the 3rd Hokage asked me for 50 million ryo, but because I had no money, he took away several stores of my Hyuga clan in the commercial street. Hyuga Hayashi said loudly, "FK, is this true? I didn't expect the 3rd Hokage to be this kind of person." The sky in Konoha has really darkened. At this time, the patriarchs of other families also stood up. I'm Narashikaku. I'm Akamichi Choza. I'm Yamanaka Hai. One by one, the clan leaders stood up and recounted what the 3rd Hokage had done over the years, leaving everyone present completely dumbfounded. They had never imagined that the usually highly respected 3rd Hokage had such a shameful side behind him. Chapter 50. Oh my god, I didn't expect the Hokage-sama to be such a person. Who says it's not true? You can never know a person's heart by his appearance. With such a leader in the Konoha village, does the village still have a future? Just then, Uchiha Fugaku stepped forward. Seeing this, everyone looked at Uchiha Fugaku curiously, wanting to hear about Uchiha's experience. Because our Uchiha clan did not pay protection fees to the 3rd Hokage, the 3rd Hokage often targeted us, and he also kept inciting conflicts between the Uchiha clan and the major clans. As a result, my reputation as Uchiha was ruined and I was ostracized in the village. Everyone present, do you subconsciously feel disgusted when you hear the name of Uchiha? Uchiha Fugaku's words made everyone fall into deep thought. They begin to recall their past experiences with the Uchiha family and discover that they do seem to have some unconscious biases. It seems to be true, right? Yes, if you think about it carefully, when Uchiha was in charge of the Konoha police force, he always enforced the law impartially, without favoritism or corruption. Yeah, then why were we prejudiced against Uchiha before? Could it be that, as the Uchiha leader said, all of this was done by the 3rd Hokage? Of course he is. After all, he has done so many things, he doesn't care about this one anymore. The villagers were discussing heatedly, and at this time a group of civilian ninjas also started discussing. What happened to Uchiha might really have been the work of the 3rd Hokage. Yes, the Uchiha are not as bad as the outside world says. Although the Uchiha clan is arrogant, they are generally very strong. We are still very happy to have Uchiha people as teammates when we are carrying out missions. His words resonated with the other ninjas around him, and they all nodded in agreement. Yes, carrying out missions together with members of the Uchiha clan can greatly increase our chances of mission success. Also, the members of the Uchiha clan are very good at fighting. Their dojutsu and ninjutsu are very powerful. They may not be very talkative, but as long as they get the job done, these are minor issues. Yes, it may be that the Uchiha is too powerful, which is why he was targeted by the 3rd Hokage. The ninjas do feel that Sarutobi Hiruzen is responsible for the fate of the Uchiha clan. At this moment, Uchiha Fugaku felt the change in the atmosphere and a glimmer of hope rose in his heart. Perhaps this rally could be an opportunity to change Uchiha's fate. I think the 3rd Hokage's actions have made him unfit to be the Hokage. Narashikaku said, so I plan to unite with you all to get the 3rd Hokage to step down and re-elect a capable person to be the Hokage. Nara's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard throughout the venue, and his words caused an uproar. People began to whisper and discuss. I, the Uchiha clan, agree. My Hyuga clan agrees. My Abarame clan agrees. After several families stood up, the heads of other families also came forward to express their willingness to cooperate with Narashikaku to jointly push for the 3rd Hokage to step down. At once, representatives from all the major clans in Konoha village responded, and their voices combined into a powerful force that seemed to overturn the entire venue. The villagers present were stunned by this sudden change, and no one made a sound for a while. They stared with wide eyes, looking at everything happening in front of them in disbelief. After a long moment, someone spoke up. If the 3rd Hokage did indeed do those things, then I agree with that. Although his voice was not loud, it was like throwing a stone into the calm water, triggering a chain reaction. That's right, if it's true, then we agree, someone in the crowd echoed. That's right, we can't tolerate this going on, another person shouted. Gradually, more and more people joined the ranks of those denouncing the crime, and their voices came together to form a deafening shout. Support the third Hokage's resignation. Support Narashikaku's proposal. We need a new leader. I don't think Sarutobi Hiruzen deserves to be Hokage. Me too. Seeing this, the patriarchs of all the major families smiled. The third Hokage was definitely finished this time. In the corner, several members of the Sarutobi clan changed their expressions after seeing this scene. The major clans are actually rebelling. Go tell the clan leader. As they said that, they rolled and crawled towards the Sarutobi tribe. Rude. Shimura-dan saw a lot of people gathered outside the Hokage building. He couldn't help but frown and asked curiously, what is Hiruzen doing? Why are there so many people outside the Hokage building? A root member stepped out from the shadows, bowed respectfully to Shimura-dan's, and asked if he needed to go check out the situation. Shimura-dan's nodded and said seriously, go quickly and come back quickly. Don't waste time. After receiving the order, the root member immediately turned around and left, running towards the Hokage building. Shimura-dan stared at the direction of the Hokage building, muttering to himself, Hiruzen, Hiruzen, what the hell are you doing? After a while, the root member finally came back in a hurry. Shimura-dan asked impatiently, how is it going? Have you investigated it clearly? What happened at the Hokage building? Why are there so many villagers gathered here? The root member gasped, his face full of shock, and he quickly replied, Danzo-sama, the heads of Konoha's major clans revealed the crimes committed during the third Hokage's reign in front of thousands of villagers outside the Hokage building. They accused the third Hokage of corruption and bribery, and of using his power to suppress the major families, putting Konoha in trouble. Now, these families have united to demand that the third Hokage abdicate in order to appease public anger. Upon hearing this, Shimura-dan's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Are you saying that the major families are now preparing to force Hiruzen to abdicate? To reply to Danzo-sama, that's it. Then Genbu said. Hearing this, Shimura-dan's face was filled with joy, and he suddenly laughed out loud, ha ha ha, Hiruzen, you've come to this day too. Shimura-dan's was overjoyed, as one of Konoha's high-ranking officials, he had a great chance of becoming Hokage as long as Sarutobi Hiruzen abdicated. No, I have to go and see for myself how Hiruzen fell. Shimura-dan said, and hurriedly left the route and headed towards the Hokage building. The position of Hokage, here I come. Ha 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 ha.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.